Oh my god. Hello? Hello? Is anybody there? No? What do you mean? It should be live. Are you sure? Uh, uh, hello? Oh my god, it's working. Can you hear me? Why are my eyes scary? Here, I'll make it less scary. Oh, yeah, okay, that does work. Okay, cool. We'll do it that way. We'll do it this way. Um, okay, so I need to try out a few things because I don't know. I don't really know. This is a mess. I've been wanting to do I've been wanting to figure out how to live stream from VR or whatever you want to call it. Spatial compooping live stream. But it's really hard. It's really hard. It's really, really hard. So, yeah. Um Hi. I'm Brad. Are you able to turn off the front eye display? No. In fact, you can't even like technically turn it on because it's all automatic. And yeah, sometimes I want to like okay, well, let's start with this. The thumbnail. The thumbnail that you all saw. Oh my god. Whoa. Oh man. Um that's a good start. The thumbnail that you all saw for this stream, that was so funny. Like, oh god, I'm gonna be so distracted from that. That was a real photo. There was like a month ago, Aurora Borealis, this time of year, entirely localized in my state. It was not a, you know, I'm sure you saw it on Twitter. It was like, there was a bunch of solar flares, right? And it made, I'm so sorry. All right, so I know what causes that. It's when I do both hands. That's so funny. So I can spaz out whenever I want. So I can't control the front display, but I can control my persona spazzing out. That's good to know. Anyway, this is VisionOS 2.0, so there's gonna be a lot of bugs and things might crash. We'll see. But yeah, the thumbnail was an actual real photo that was taken in real life. I put on the headset. I actually wanted to have the purple color, like you can kind of see when I look straight into the camera. It's like kind of purpley, but that only shows up if you're looking at content or in VR while also looking at someone. It only shows up when you're looking at someone. So yeah, stop that. I'll stop that. I'm sorry. It's really funny. I'm here for the VTuber arc. Yeah, this is VTuber Brad. And it's not, to be completely honest with you, I'm sure this is not surprising to anyone, but I've been wanting to do VTuber stuff. Here, let me put this down here. I think that makes more sense. I don't know why, you don't want to stare at my real life chin. I think this is, like, more interesting. Let me get bigger, right? No. Yeah, VTuber. I've obviously am a fan of VR chat, and I've always wanted to do content with my avatar, and I've done some content pieces, but like obviously you limit to the reach, the audience that is willing to stare at an anime girl with a man voice, an awkward voice, I should say, more than anything, because my voice is very awkward. But yeah, this is like kind of, oh, this is, by the way, this is VisionOS 2.0 persona. They like made it better. It actually looks pretty good. It's still not something that like, even though I am live streaming with it, it's still not, how do I put it? It's good, but it's still not there yet. Perfect. So, yeah. Anyway. I wanted to summon the purple face with the Aurora Borealis background in real life when I took the thumbnail picture, but I couldn't summon it because Apple basically chooses when you cannot do those things. So, yeah. That's how it is. That's how it be. Anyway. Welcome to the stream. Hopefully I don't screw anything up during the stream. In fact, I probably will screw stuff up because, yeah, I think that's expected. I didn't get much sleep last night, but that's also quite normal. How have you all been? It is summer. It is summer right now, which, summer is... I like how, someone in Twitter, I think, or someone in this chat, I can't remember, someone put it very clear that VR is kind of a winter sport. It kind of is, because whenever it becomes summertime, if you look at analytics for anything related to virtual reality, it goes it goes so that is like a big problem, right? Like that's something we have to deal with, and it's literally why I moved up north. I used to live in Florida, and now I don't. So yeah. Do you have news on Deadlock? That's a gaming thing. Even though I cover Valve's, I have covered Valve stuff, right? I've never really cared about covering Valve game stuff. Like I'm not. Yeah. Anyway, it's true. I did not move to Canada though. Canada's like, I don't know. I think you move to Canada if you're like rich at this point. I don't know how you. If you're like someone who loves to buy tech, I don't know how you live in either Australia or in Canada. That seems like terrible places to live if you like wanting to buy tech ever. But yeah. Hope you had fun at Ferality. Okay, so Ferality was a furry convention that happened in VR chat. I spent one night hanging out with people. It was nice. The worlds were neat, but yeah, it was neat. All right, Brad only covers Valve's VR game. The one singular. Well, I guess you count the lab. The lab counts as a, I guess. Anyway, yeah, that was like last weekend, the Ferality thing. There was also another event going on during that. I think it was a VRC Trans Academy thing. I think they were doing something for Pride Month, and they announced some interesting stuff. But anyway, yeah, $5,000 can't. Oh, speaking of $5,000, another Vision Pro news that's kind of interesting is I'm not going to talk all about Vision Pro. I don't want to only talk about Vision Pro, but I do want to cover Vision Pro a bit, obviously, because it's been 4 months. It's been 4 months since the thing came out in USA. I still love it. I still freaking love this. Okay, I'm gonna tell this device has ruined me. This device has truly ruined me. I can't get as excited for anything else in XR right now because I feel the experience and the hardware and everything that's being delivered, especially with Vision OS 2.0, fixing some of the things that was really frustrating. This device has genuinely kind of ruined my brain, and like it's like, okay, Brad, people have been asking me recently, Brad, where are the Quest leaks that you used to do? And there's a two-parter to that. One, you should follow, if you care about Quest leaks, you should follow someone on Twitter called Luna Yian. Luna Yian. They care a lot about the Quest platform, and they do a pretty good job data mining and stuff. So they're very good for that. Two, the second answer is, right now they're preparing to release a Quest 3S, which is a lower end Quest 3, or in another way you could say it's a higher end Quest 2. For me, if you've been watching this channel and like you know me, the concept of that is the most uninteresting thing that could ever happen in XR for me. I have literally, I think you would have to pay me to be interested in something like that. Like, frankly, it's very, Quest 3 is an amazing piece of hardware and an amazing product, and like actually feels like it pushes something further. And I think like it's a great product, right? Anything less than that, or even like a slightly better Quest 2, I don't give a crap about, because just to put it in perspective, I was really excited about the Quest Pro. It seemed like everything I wanted from Meta to do a high-end piece of hardware. And that made me very interested in it. So I wanted to research it and try to figure out what was happening around it and leaking it. And then I got the Quest Pro. I bought it with my own money, and it felt like an upgrade Quest 2. in a lot of ways. Obviously, it had way better hardware than the Quest 2, but like still, like I don't. The Quest 3S hurts my brain. It makes me so unexcited for Meta stuff right now. And and on the software side of Meta, to be frank, a lot of the stuff that's happening with Meta updates is all catching up to what this device I'm wearing is doing. Every update, like, you know, they add spatial video support. They added recently better pass-through, which I still haven't even gotten. I have been trying to put on the Quest 3 and wait for the rolling update to release on my headset. Still haven't got it, so I can't really even check out that feature because rolling updates are stupid. But yeah, all of it's just like, why would I care about that when I'm wearing basically an expensive dev kit? I'm aware this is an over expensive dev kit. But it's pretty much a lot of things that I want from XR right now. It's like, been using it for 4 months, and I still don't want to go back to using a monitor. I still don't want to go back to being stationary at a singular desk and being held back by the physical boundary of that monitor that I bought a couple years ago or whatever. It feels very powerful having control over my environment, all the windows that I see, and also having 3D elements thrown in here and there. And having an entire operating system built around that is so valuable for me. I'm very glad that Apple did this, and I'm glad because I've been talking about Steam VR overlays. My background to my persona right now is the Steam VR zone, right? And that's because it's kind of like a tribute to that, because Steam VR overlays could do a lot of those things. I kept talking about this feature in Steam VR that was so valuable and people used all the time. They just didn't really think about it much. They like there's a meme among the VR community where people would launch a VR game and then like 10 other applications would launch beside it because they're all a bunch of overlays would basically auto open with Steam VR, and people were using these every day to enjoy the most out of their computer and their VR experiences and stuff. So it just feels really cool to see a company basically take that concept that I loved about Steam VR and built a whole operating system around it. And now literally every single company, including Meta, is now also pushing those features to that platform as well. So I feel like I'm eating really good right now. There's interest in high-end hardware. There's interest in the components market, especially. Recently, there was an event that I didn't get to go this year, and I'm really sad about that. I couldn't make it this year. But in previous years, the past 2 years, you can go back on my channel, and there was an event called SID Display Week, which is not something VR YouTubers ever cover. I usually do, but again, I couldn't make it this year. It's all about displays, and they've been every year, this event would have companies like Samsung, BOE, LG come to the event to show off components that they're either prototypes of things. Some stuff is far off in the future, some of the components you see, but some of it is literally stuff that companies bring in the hopes that they can find a customer like Apple or Meta to pay them to basically build that in volume, right? So it's like kind of like a garage sale, but for getting things built in some of these displays. And this year was, wow, there was a lot of micro LED this year. The most surprising thing is this was like I guess it was kind of the first year that Imagine company was under the full umbrella of Samsung Display. So they were there showing off a very similar display actually to what is in the Beyond in terms of resolution and size, but it was using direct emission RGB, so very bright and very efficient. Very important technology. I'm not going to talk about it much here, but more surprising, that actually blew my mind when I saw BOE, the company who, you know, they're very well known. They're a Chinese company, so they're very well known of selling things very affordably for components. They get in trouble because, you know, sometimes they might hire people from Korean companies to, you know, get a little bit of secrets here and there and undercut them and try to bypass some patents with their technologies and stuff. But despite all that, they're an amazing company. They are in iPhones now. They're in every VR headset. Your Quest 2, your Quest 3, or not your Quest 3, your Quest Pro, your Pimax Crystal, your Vario Aero, all of that stuff use BOE displays. And they showed off a micro OLED prototype that was also RGB direct emission. And they were, again, this is a prototype. I don't think they're anywhere close to mass producing it, but this was shocking that they're even showing this off. And at 20% duty cycle, they got 5,000 nits of brightness. For comparison, the displays in this headset, the Vision Pro, get 1,000 nits of brightness at 20% duty cycle. And frankly, 20% duty cycle is still not low enough. It's still not good enough. That adds the little blur when you move your head. We need 10%. We need brighter so that they can push 10% brightness. But yeah, that blew my mind when I saw BOE also trying to dabble in that technology. Whether or not we'll see it in anytime soon. But great stuff. Great stuff. Soon immersed visor. We will see. I can't figure out which. Look at whatever makes you more comfortable. Are you more comfortable looking at digital Brad or Brad with a giant ski mask on his face with a weird display? It's your choice. I'm giving people the choice, but I'm also looking at chat. So anyway, basically my point is I feel like I'm eating really good right now. I have a high-end device that I enjoy using every day. I don't regret replacing my monitor for it. It's not perfect. It's not a device that I will be like. I still feel VR or AR, XR is frankly not consumer ready at all. I still feel that way. The Vision Pro didn't change that. I don't feel this industry is going to explode within 5 years. I still don't feel that way, even though I have a headset on and like all the stuff happening with Quest 3 and stuff. I still don't feel that way. But seeing what is kind of slowly changing in the industry and like priorities and like the hardware and components, it feels way more organic than it did before this headset released. And that's very valuable to my brain. That's very valuable to how I feel about the market and stuff. So, yeah, I'm very happy right now. So, yeah. All right. We don't have to talk about that anymore. Let me catch up. When is VR Crewcast coming back? I don't know. I actually haven't talked about that with GT. I hope it does come back because I think that was actually a really good, very good show. And I think it was very valuable. So, okay, for people who don't know, VR Crewcast was a podcast I was a part of for about a little more than a year. We would do almost weekly shows. It was with Gamertag VR, Skiva, Virtual Strangers, which is 2 people, Lethal Weasel, and who else was? Oh my god, my brain. I swear to God, I'm not forgetting who it is, but a lot of people is my point. A lot of people. And it was really good because a lot of the people on that stream were people that still give a crap about VR gaming. And I think if you watch my New Year's video, I basically laid out that I have very little interest for VR games these days. I don't play them. When I think of VR, I don't think of gaming anymore. I think of this. Frankly, I think of this. So, but that's because I'm a weirdo. And it's the opposite for most of the people in this world. When they think of VR, they think of the Quest, the Oculus, gaming, all that stuff. And those people are very into it. They're very deep, and they're also deep in their own platforms. Like some of them are very into the Sony platform, some of them are very into the Quest platform. So it was always good for me to kind of get a reality check of like how those people feel about different things in the industry. Whereas me, I'm like up here in like the crazy world, replacing my monitors with a headset that is 600 grams on my face, right? So that was really good to have for me mentally and all these other things. So I don't know when we're gonna do it again. I hope we do again, but yeah. Yeah. What do you think Palmer's new HMD will be? I hope it, honestly, I kind of hope that he pushes more. This is what I hope it will be. I don't know what it will be, because Palmer is very much a wild card. But he's been very honest about what he thinks the future of VR hardware should go. He's always pushed that you should target the enthusiast market. He's always pushed for that. He always disagreed when he was at Oculus about the idea of making cheap headsets to make the industry explode. He always thought you should focus on... He was more on the Apple side, the Apple strategy, rather than the Quest 2 strategy. So that kind of gives me an idea that if he does release something for consumers, I would assume he's targeting that. But he's also made a lot of interesting comments about, like, moving processing off the head and into a puck, which, I mean, obviously that is it's not fully there, but that's kind of why I like the battery, other than the fact that the Apple kind of had to do a battery off the head to deliver enough power to all the processing and stuff that's happening on this headset and stuff. So, like, I really hope that he pushes more, like, make the headset lighter and offload stuff onto a processing puck like he's always pushed for in the past. And if he does that, like, I would actually be very interested in what he's doing. But he's gonna announce what he's doing this week. I don't know if he's announcing, like, what it'll look like or anything, but keep an eye on probably my Twitter and every other VR. It's gonna be all over VR news once he does announce it. But I think it's interesting what he might do. So yeah, I would love to see someone make something similar more to the big screen Beyond that is focused on all of this, but moving processing off the head to make things lighter. I think that's very. You might be like, well, Immerse is doing that, and true, but my problem is if Immerse exists as a product, it seems too locked down to only one use case, which is people already complain that the Vision Pro doesn't have enough to do when it can technically do very good media viewing, very good productivity, like a lot of these things all at once, and it's still not enough app-wise. I can't imagine locking you down to only one use case. Connecting to a laptop to view screens is, I don't know, we'll see. But yeah, I think it'll be interesting. So handheld plus VR, funny about that. Did you feel AVP was snubbed at WWDC? No, not really. I felt like actually one thing is I usually hate watching WWDC. I hate it. I usually hate, actually, I hate watching all of those types of events, frankly. I think all of them are terrible. Let me move this up here. Watching events like WWDC, MetaConnect, the Google one this year. The Google one this year was literal nails on a chalkboard. All of them are terrible. All of them are like, it's like you're watching these executives go up on stage and like kind of like fap each other off, frankly. And usually it's always buzzwords about the biggest thing, right? Going on that year. I never enjoy it. I just want to see like the new updates to the products and like the platforms and stuff. And usually have to wait after the actual main keynote to figure out some of that stuff these days. But this year I felt WWDC, they just kind of rushed through all the products, actually. They were very fast on everything. They got through the Vision Pro, I think was the first one that they showed off all the updates. Then they went to the next one and the next one. It felt very like... It made me feel like they're trying to cater more to Zoomers with the low attention span more. That's how I felt, genuinely, compared to previous years. And then they got to the AI stuff, and then it was long. Then it was long, and I started to zone out quite a bit. But yeah, I didn't feel like it was snubbed. There was a lot more interesting stuff about OS 2.0 that they didn't talk about in the actual keynote that people had to find for themselves. And I don't know, it's whatever. Again, all those shows suck for me. I don't enjoy any of them. Oh, That's not real. It's fake. It's a meme. It's not really deadlock. That's a meme. I did a meme. It's not real. It was a prank. I just wanted to make people who... I wanted to make chat notice. It's not real. Yep, you got pranked. You can create fake games in Steam by attaching a third-party game and changing the title and properties. Yeah. Anyway, they just wanted to get to AI exactly. Did you notice that you built up more neck muscles? I don't know. I don't think so. Maybe I did, but I don't feel like I did. However, one thing to complain about personas is I always feel like it makes my neck look really thick compared to real life. I think it always screws up the neck on my persona scans quite a bit. But all right, I should talk about other things. Let's talk about. I'll touch on Valve a little bit. There hasn't been too much, frankly. Going back to like kind of the thing I was saying about how companies are focusing on making this happen, the overlays in a VR environment or a VR or AR environment, because you can switch between the two, right? That's kind of the point. You can switch between the two. If you're on the beta of Steam Link, if you use Steam Link, which is the VR streaming app to Quest, before, if you wanted to play a 2D game in VR, you had to load into VR, Steam VR itself, and then pop up an overlay in Steam VR to play a 2D game. And it was cool because you actually did get a full theater environment, which is pretty nice. They spent some time adding some cool lighting effects and stuff. And actually, that theater environment, by the way, they recently in the back end added support, which is activatable with a weird console command, but it's kind of not front-facing and annoying for newbies to activate. But stereoscopic rendering for theater mode is a thing that you can actually kind of do, and they're working on in the back end, which is pretty interesting. It's pretty interesting because like no games support, no modern games flat out support side by side to full 3D rendering. So I don't know what their long-term plans for that might be, but I hope if they could figure out a way like okay, let's think about Proton, right? The translation layer from Windows to Linux for all of Steam games. If they could figure out something like that, but for 2D to 3D conversion, so you can play your entire Steam library in 3D somehow, that would be freaking magical. That'd be crazy. That'd be really crazy. But I don't know. We'll see what they're doing that. Anyway, going back to Steam Link app, they recently in the beta, which is already full, so if you're not in the beta on MetaQuest, then you can access it. But if you're in the beta, you can now stream 2D games directly in the MetaQuest home environment overlay completely. You don't have to go into Steam VR. There's a little toggle between playing VR or 2D games. So it's kind of like this. Like it's imagine you just click this and it gives you the Steam Deck UI, also known as the Big Picture UI, and then you can actually use the controllers to navigate the menu and click your 2D game and then play it in the 2D overlay in your home environment on Meta. So overlays are now becoming a thing on Quest, and this is like the first native. Okay, I guess there's Xbox, right? There's Xbox cloud streaming. That's also. Wait, does Xbox cloud streaming put you into a VR environment, or can you run the Xbox streaming in an overlay right now? Does anyone know? I never tried it because I don't really use Xbox. So you can do both. Steam Link is on Vision Pro. The iPad version is on Vision Pro, but I don't use it. I use Moonlight. Like right here, this whole thing here. This is Moonlight, which is a great open source streaming app, and it's great. So, yeah. Oh, also, why am I on top chat? I want to see live chat. Anyway. Some other updates with Valve is they do keep updating GameScope and for what they always call a... That looks weird. For what they always call a VR session, which is a special session that I don't think we can actually start or run. GameScope is the low-level compositor for the Steam Deck and SteamOS. You can technically run GameScope in Linux, but it's not built. It's mainly built for what they're doing, Valve is doing. So they've been making some changes to make the latency improved even for this GameScope VR session, and there was even a screenshot of like having the Mango HUD, which shows you your frame rate from the Steam Deck in this VR overlays thing. So cool stuff, neat stuff. Yeah, we call it GameScope in our data mining stuff. Other than that, there's not too much. There is this like depot that they keep update. So back before the Steam Link for MetaQuest app released, we caught wind of a depot in an app, a special app that would later end up being the drivers for VR Link or Steam VR Link, because you have to Steam VR automatically installs a driver for it in Steam VR when you update it. But now there's another depot that's very similar to that, like what we found months back before the Quest Steam Link app came out. So we think that it might be a Linux version of that VR Link driver, because there's no actual Linux support for Steam VR Link to Quest or any other headset right now, which is unfortunate, because that's kind of the one thing stopping me from using Linux at this point is Steam VR. And like, yeah, I think that should be things. I think that should be a thing. I would love to. Frankly, you know what I want? To be completely clear, lay out everything on the table. Strix Halo is a chip that AMD has been working on, and it's like a super chiplet version of the recently announced Strix chips, which are, you know, the APUs that you'll see probably in a lot of laptops and probably some handheld PCs, right? Very good. It uses the new RDNA 3.5 architecture for GPU and RDNA 5 for CPU. And the Strix Halo is basically that platform, but big chip, like 40 compute units or whatever. I would love to see a version of that chip in like a Valve home console that you immediately connect to it with the Steam Link app on whatever headset you're using, and it will automatically load into a VR session of GameScope and give you the best quality while being also very affordable, because, you know, if you buy, I mean, the biggest thing stopping people from PC VR or even PC gaming is the ridiculous prices for GPUs these days. Like, it's so ridiculous. It's so disgusting. It's so messed up. It's terrible. Absolutely terrible. Like, if you want a good system, it's like bare minimum $1,000, I think, for the most part these days, for a good GPU system, brand new. But hey, if Valve released what they learned with Steam Deck and like made an actual box that had a Strix Halo chip in there and had all the stuff they're doing with GameScope's VR session, and like started porting Steam Link onto multiple platforms, that would be just so freaking good. That would be great. That'd be wonderful. So again, GameScope is just the compositor that runs on SteamOS. It allows the lowest latency that they can get for games to run in their little Linux thing. What's also cool about the Linux VR session is everything becomes overlays. Like GameScope's. So for example, you know, like all these apps are running side by side each other, right? Right. It's kind of like that. Like, it seems like the VR session for GameScope runs very similar, where you launch an app in this SteamOS environment, and it'll launch its own contained GameScope compositor. So it kind of feels like they're kind of doing stuff like this, but maybe focused right now on their gaming library, right? Because they're a gaming company. They want people to buy all of their Steam games. That is what Valve values the most out of anything else. So I'm curious to see how well the Snapdragon X Elite laptops will perform. I've heard some bad for gaming. I've heard some pretty rough things already. I'm not frankly convinced that gaming is going to be very good on them. I think people who buy that are it's, you know what? It's like Apple Silicon if you really think about it. You know, Apple Silicon, you don't buy an Apple Silicon laptop really to game unless you're insane. Which there are insane people out there, like for sure, right? But yeah, I don't think it's gonna be bought for gaming. I think people will still want to gravitate to more power hungry x86 stuff, if they actually want to do gaming. So, oh, I'm glad you brought this up. X Elite style chip for Quest Pro 2. So okay, going back to Quest stuff, there is one thing that's interesting, and it's not really even related directly to Quest, but it's related more to Qualcomm. So we found references, or I shouldn't say I found, okay, so someone first on Twitter found references to a new XR chip from Snapdragon. So the Quest, and then we ended up finding more info about it with our freaky weird nerds in my Discord and stuff, and we found out a little more information about it. So the Quest 3 and then the Quest 3S, which is coming out later, the cheaper Quest 3, we all know use the XR2 Gen 2 chip. And originally, Samsung was going to release this year their headset, and it was going to be running XR2 Plus Gen 2, which these are all terrible names. I hate these names. I hate these names every time. But we found out that Qualcomm is already shipping the next generation XR2 chips to companies already, which is very quick. That is very early. To the point where I think you're probably going to see products with it, this new version of the chip, next year. And you have to wonder yourself, why? The Quest 3 just came out end of last year. Quest 3S is about to come out with that same chip, right? What is making Qualcomm, which, while they have done a lot of stuff for XR, I'm not discounting that, but they never wanted to rush on like an almost annual basis for a new design for chips. And it goes back to a thing I heard before the XR2 Gen 2 was announced, that Samsung themselves were actually communicating with Qualcomm because they actually did want an elite. Okay, I shouldn't say they wanted an X Elite chip, but they actually wanted the Orion CPU cores from that chip in a VR headset chip. And I think they might have settled at one point because they wanted to rush out a product. But from my understanding is that Samsung headset will not release this year anymore. It got delayed again, which is probably a good thing, frankly, because I think I don't think a company like Samsung can rush into XR and match this software experience, especially. That's a Google thing. Google's always so scary. I don't know. Google's always a wild card, but yeah, I think we'll see new chips next year for XR that are better than what you see in Quest 3 and Quest 3S, frankly, based on the timing of how there's actual they call them development platforms. Basically, they send out the new early samples of silicon with basically like these kind of like Debbie type boards to partners, like you would see Meta get them and Samsung get them. They shipped them out earlier this year already for the next gen chip. So, oh, and the not just the next, so it'd be like XR2 Gen 3 and XR2 Plus Gen 3 is what they're sending out. Both versions they're sending out to companies right now. So, yeah. Terrible naming. I hate that name. I freaking hate those names. It's like, I always complain about it, but it's like USB naming standards. It's so bad. So, could we see the Meta AR glasses at Connect? So Meta is going to be showing off AR glasses this year. But they are not going to be glasses that are going to be for sale. They're going to be showing off something that literally cannot be made. Literally cannot be made. There's a whole story about it, basically, that they can only make like 20 of them. is what I think I heard, the number. They can only make 20 of them. They use silicon carbide waveguides, which is something that you can't even export. They're made in a U.S. factory, these waveguides. And due to restrictions made by the U.S. government, they're not allowed to export that to anyone. So, and it just can't be made. It can't even be made cheap to begin with, but it also cannot be made in good volumes. The reason why they wanted silicon carbide waveguides is they actually could get extremely, extremely a better FOV than what they're going to use for when they actually do release AR glasses. I think, I don't want to give numbers, but even with the silicon carbide glasses, the FOV of these AR glasses was not near what you would get from like even a Quest 2 FOV. Another thing is that they were going to use micro LED displays with the waveguides, and if you know anything about micro LED, those things, that is the one display technology that is always 5 years away, and it's been like that for 10 years. So it's not they're probably going to switch to a technology called LCOS whenever they do release them. And this is where I'm really confused, because they're going to be showing off, they're allegedly going, and this is all from reports from, I think, The Verge and many other media sources, that they're going to be showing off this cannot be made in volume AR glasses prototype to journalists and people at Connect this year. This amazing piece of hardware that they've been touting, Zuckerberg and all of them have been touting as the most advanced piece of technology that anyone has ever made for consumers. But one, it's not going to be released at all. Two, they can't actually make it in volume. And three, why show off something that might blow people's heads off this year if in 3 years from now, which is the roadmap that they want to actually release the first generation with the worst components, are they going to get different journalists? Is that their plan? Like if you get the same journalist that reviews the product that can't be made this year, that's amazing, and then they come back 3 years later with the worst stuff that can actually be sold, maybe, they're going to be like, oh, this is not even close. This is not the same as what I tried 3 years ago. That was amazing. Like, it feels very confusing strategy wise. I don't really get it. I think they're just trying to show it off to be like, oh, you think that all these headsets are bulky from our competitors? Well, look what we can make 20 of. I don't know. I think it's a really bad idea, and I think I'm always frustrated because AR glasses. I'm always so frustrated when I see regular consumers try on Vision Pro. They love the experience, but obviously, again, that's why I don't think VR is consumer ready. AR, even these headsets, are consumer ready. I think it's still not a mainstream technology yet. But despite that, when they always say the same thing. Oh, wow, this is great, but I want it in a pair of glasses. And, you know, they always think that Apple is going to release a pair of glasses of what these kind of products can do within like 3 years or something crazy, because they don't understand. And if you have companies that kind of claim that they're going to do that, and even show off prototypes of something that they're saying is the best consumer product they've ever made, even though they can't sell it or make it in volume, you're just reinforcing that mindset, I feel. You're making people think that it is close. It's not. It's so not. Like, yes, you can have oh, I just knocked over a camera. I hope that doesn't look bad anymore. But anyway, I get really frustrated the whole AR glasses being soon thing, because they're you can frankly have great HUD glasses that give you a very simple text or in a single color in the corner of your eyes. You can have great smart glasses at this point. The Meta Ray-Bans is selling very well. Very well. It doesn't have a display in it, but it captures pictures and photos and syncs to a phone those pictures and photos, and people like that. It's simple. But to have a full immersive AR switch to VR thing like that, it's still so far away, and it always just bothers me when companies, whether they're big or small, keep perpetuating the idea that it's the experience you're getting from Vision Pro is going to be put in a pair of glasses soon. It's not. So, yeah, Forehead just released AR glasses. So, answer your super chat, please. Oh God, where'd it go? Here, I can find it. I think. Where does it show my super chats? I'm sorry, I get very distracted when I go in my rants. I swear to God. Okay, here we go. Oh, here, I'm gonna go through all my super chats right now. Longshot 8888. I'm at work today, so I'll have to watch most of this later. I wanted to show support and plead with you to please make more live streams often. I love doing live streams more than videos at this point. If people want me to live stream more, here's my question. Because here's the complaint I get from people. So I feel like my content, even my YouTube content for the most part, is very talk to the camera-y. Obviously. It doesn't feel that different from live streams already, the way I kind of structure them. I already don't usually do scripts. I usually might have like an outline of things that I can talk about, and then I make a video. I record myself talking and then whatever. If I just stream more often and then use the second channel to post clips of all the different topics I talk about, cut down, that probably is, would that be okay for people? I think that might be the best of both worlds, because there's some things in my life right now that are making me very busy to make dedicated videos, but I still like to live stream because basically the chat becomes that outline that I used to have for just talking videos. And a lot of times the problem I run into for these talking videos is I think people will have an understanding of something I say in it, of a topic, but then it ends up not being mentioned or ends up confusing people. At least with the chat, if someone gets confused about a concept, I can explain it. Like the game scope thing. I talk about game scope because I look at game scope. I understand what game scope is because I watch it so often, but I forget that you don't know what game scope is, right? Stuff like that. Like, it's really nice to have chat to be like, what is that? you just went over that so fast, Brad. So yeah, I would like to do live streams more, to be honest. For those reasons that I just said. Long videos are nice, but what you're describing now is how people make content nowadays. I think there's part of it is because I think, well, it's like, you know, Zuckerberg went up when he what video was it? What video was it? No, what he did a video recently where he was holding the little lavalier microphone up to his mouth, like Zoomers do on TikTok. Sorry, I really find that funny. It's really like Zuckerberg, by the way, he clearly hired a very good PR person or someone to help him relate more to people. Because it was all of a sudden, right? It was like one banger after another of like posts, like the picture he took in front of the Eiffel Tower in real life to kind of like make fun of the very well-known metaverse picture. Like, that publicist that works for him is doing a very good job. But yeah, the lavalier mic thing, like that's like one of those things where it's like he must have had a publicist who's like understands the Zoomer audience and is like, you gotta do this now. But yeah, it's true that there is weird things happening to content that is being more. I don't hate it. I think it's actually kind of nice in some ways because I think it's more organic. I think it's nice that people can be more natural rather than like have to do this Hollywood bullcrap for videos and like talking to people and stuff. So I think that's good. I think it's mostly a good thing. But when I saw the AirPods, right? There was some news about AirPods getting better noise cancellation. So I was like, okay, Zoomers use lavalier mics up to their mouth. Will the next generation after Zoomers hold up an AirPod up to their mouth to record TikTok videos? Is that the next thing? Is that the next one? How can we get this more jank? I want to get more jank as we can get. Oh, I'm going back to my super chat. I just wanted to go back. I wanted to make sure people already do that. Oh no. Oh, my bad. I thought I was being clever. I don't watch TikTok because I feel like my brain does this when I watch TikTok. So, yeah. First time going to AWE next week. Advice on which booths to check out. Also, no, you can't talk about. Oh yeah, I did talk about this. Which booths should you check out AWE? So I did look at AWE booths a bit, and AWE is a really great networking event. Honestly, like if you want to work in the industry or like get to know people in AR and VR, it's fantastic for that. What it's not good for is people like me who want to see new stuff every year. They've gotten a bigger event space and there are more booths, but for the most part, I find it very just the same every year for the most part. But you should check out the Hypervision booth for sure. I think they're gonna be there. I'm pretty sure they're gonna be there. Hypervision is the company I made a video about last year, where they had the they had the stitched Pancake lens with 2 displays per eye. I don't expect that to ever really make it into a consumer product, but I still think people would love to at least see it and put it on. They're also working on a big so Vision Pro uses a 3 stacked curved cylindrical lens to get around a 110 horizontal FOV. Obviously the vertical is like 80 to 90 depending on what you are, but those 2 aspects, 3 layers and being curved components is what gives you the very wide FOV. Basically they're doing that, but for fast LCD, which obviously is bigger. I think they're targeting 2.5 inches, which is similar to Quest Pro and Quest 3 display sizes. So when you have a bigger display and you have that curved optic stuff going on, you automatically get a bigger FOV, generally. Now the problem is with that kind of optic system, you need really good eye tracking and dynamic distortion profiles with eye tracking to really make it look good. It's kind of like AMOLens. There's a company called AMOLens who did that for. They did it for HP Reverb Omnicept, and I think Pimax Crystal was doing it for a while. And when people turned it on with the eye tracking, they noticed things like chromatic aberration got way better, and even the visual detail of things looked better. So there's some optical stuff that the industry knew about for a while, but couldn't really implement until eye tracking got good enough. But you should still check out that booth, I think, for sure. Other companies you should check out: AWE. I can't think of any others, frankly. It's not that there's nothing there. I've seen everything there for the most part. There's good stuff there. I just can't remember them all on the top of my head. But just explore, talk to people. There's a lot of great people that'll be going, and I think it's really fun for networking if you're into that. So, yeah. Brad, you talked about Palmer Luckey when to offload processing off the headset. How about the processes further back onto the side with modulars that you can upgrade with clip-on? Yeah, I think the problem with modularity for VR, okay, I think modularity is really great of a concept. And like, I think the idea of like putting all the processing, even on the back of the head, that would be interchangeable with like USB-C to the front, seems like a really cool idea to me still. It just seems hard too. It's a really hard problem because there's not many reasons right now to do something like that because there hasn't been much competition on the processing for VR or XR focused processing. You relied literally only on Qualcomm to release a new chip every generation. It's not like how with PCs we have Intel and AMD competing each other every year, and now we have Qualcomm as well in that realm. And there's a lot of competition, a lot of reason to have modularity for people because there's a huge market that can choose the like whatever competitor, whatever company's chip. XR, we don't have that right now. So the benefits you get from modularity, which would be to upgrade your compute mostly, or stack or put that compute on a different HMD with better optics and displays, which I still. So talking about optics and displays, you want to pair those and make that part of the headset as built together as possible. Otherwise, you have a lot of wasted space, and you can't get it as small and light as you would like it to be. But again, the processing part is probably the more that can be, if someone did something, probably could be more modular. But now that you have to kind of worry about latency too, of like the displays of your face and getting to the back of your head without things bending or getting disconnected. I still think it's cool, a concept. I want to see more of that done, but it's hard. It's hard. It's really hard for VR headsets. It's really, really hard. I enjoy that. So the, you know, like, okay, this is the most bare example I could think of, but I like the Quest 3 more than the Quest Pro, mainly because it's more modular. The Quest Pro unibody was the Quest Pro unibody design is probably the least modular headset possible, I think, on the market, right? And that did not fit my head. And modding it to fit my head was just very jank. Whereas Quest 3 can remove the strap, you can change out the strap. That's the most base example of modular, and it works so much better. It works so much better. Design around that for sure. Design around that for sure. The Somnium headset is slightly you know, I don't want to talk too much about Somnium actually, because I will be going there again next month to try out what. I don't know if you watched my videos of Somnium back in like January of this year, but they brought me and a few other YouTubers to try it out, and I had a lot of comments about the prototype, and I made some statements back then that I did not. I think they were hoping to release by like March or something originally, and I was like, "There's no way. There's a lot of work that still needs to be done." And we're in June. I'll be there in July to see the new versions that they've been working on, and I'll talk more about Somnium after I do that. So yeah, I still want to cheer them on because I still think, frankly, I'm kind of in a weird spot because products like Pimax and Somnium or any Aspheric, even Vario a bit, I'm not really there anymore for that. But if I imagine it from, because I actually run into a lot of people to this day that want the Aspheric, big HMD, big FOV, big clarity. So I have to, even though I'm not a bit, I would rather have something like a Pancake HMD, like Quest 3 or this, which is the extreme side of it. I still think it's kind of interesting for me to check it out and like see what they've improved of the optics and stuff, and for the people that are still interested in that, still give my opinions. But you should always expect me to be a bit more a bit more interested in micro LED and Pancake over the other stuff. So I'm biased, basically, is what I'm saying. Can you do my best quack? Quack. Being able to 3D print parts makes it as modular as a Quest. Yeah, you can 3D print some parts of it, but I think there's some stuff like they're not going to recommend people slot in eye tracking, for example. I believe they were kind of pushing against that idea, because the idea is there's going to be different tiers of the Somnium headset, one without eye tracking or cameras, one with eye tracking, and one with the whole shebang. And those features are going to be more difficult for people to add on than some other stuff. But they are partnered with Prusa to make some of the things that you can 3D print and modulate on it better. So, yeah. Let me go back to my super chats because I still think I missed some, unfortunately. I'm really bad at this thing. I'm bad at this. What is the next use case you think will bring more people and attention to the space? Actually, I think this use case, to be quite frank, this shared space spatial computing use case, I actually think it's the most consumer ready use case, to be honest, for VR and AR. I actually totally believe that. But the hardware is not there yet. Still. It's not there yet. I still think I think this concept for software is it. I think this is the one that will make people understand the concept. It's great, but hardware. Still motion blurry. Displays are not bright enough. Headset's still heavy. That's the stuff that I think will... I still think it's a hardware issue. I still think it's a hardware issue. I think the software here is good enough. I think it's more consumer ready. Like, if we're talking about software, I think this concept is more consumer ready than gaming, VR gaming. I literally play tested a game yesterday, a VR game, and it wasn't a play test where I'm just in my room alone. I was in the same room as the developer for the game. By the way, I was actually quite impressed with the game. It was a voxel game, which was cool. You would like swing swords and like literally chop off limbs and stuff, and like that was pretty great. But there was still stuff that I had a lot of advice about, and like things I wanted to feedback to them. And we kept running into this issue over and over, where it's like, okay, this is a problem they're dealing with in the game. How could we solve it? And the more and more we talk together, the more I realize how annoying it is to make a game that's accessible for people who get motion sick easily in VR, in games, and making it also a very enticing game for the gaming crowd. Because frankly, it's kind of what I talked about in my end of the year's video, where it's like games are trying to become more like the 2D counterparts, where they're very big and action-packed and like joystick movement, all that stuff, because gamers come into VR, they expect those things. They expect those things. They're not they don't want to do VR experiences. They don't want to do these small little things where it's with teleport movement and things that they want that. So VR gaming is kind of catered a lot to people who don't get motion sick, which you can, of course, I do believe you can actually obviously get VR legs. I do believe that, but some people will not take the time to do that. So yeah, this is lazy. This use case for VR and AR is lazy. And whether you like it or not, humans are lazy. and they want to have... I think technology is all about adding screens to things, if you really think about it. You go back 10 years ago, the idea of putting a display on a refrigerator was freaking stupid. No one would even think about that. What the heck? Why would you put a display on a refrigerator? But today you see all the high-end fridges all have displays. They all have displays just for the stupid refrigerator use cases. So there's this theme where people really want more screens. That's very clear. It's very clear people want more screens, whether it's good or not. That's just the trajectory of technology. So I think this use case is pretty great, but it requires the headsets to get lighter, brighter. I went to the beach. In this headset to just use it like I normally would at home, because I think of this headset as a laptop. I think of it as a laptop, and I will use it at the beach like some people use their ebook readers or their phones or whatever while they're at the beach. When I put it on, I have all my displays. They all look great. The pass-through, it's like wearing extremely dark sunglasses. extremely dark, not immersive. Didn't feel like I was at the beach anymore, except obviously, like, you know, I felt the sand getting all in my socks and crap. But a lot of things still need to get there for it. Sorry, I feel like I rant about this all the time. Anyway, I know I'm crazy. I'm a crazy person. I do go to the beach wearing this. Yes, yes. People look at me funny. People look at me funny. People look at me funny. But people look at me funny no matter what I do. So it doesn't matter if I'm wearing a headset. At least when I wear the headset and people look at me funny, they won't know what I look like when I'm not wearing the headset, because my facial profile, just to show a failure how the outward display is, people will not. Let's say I murder someone. Let's say I murder someone while wearing this headset, and I stab them. I murder them with this headset on. And then they put me in a police lineup with the headset off. They probably won't be able to pick me out. They probably won't be able to pick me out as easy. Was that a little too extreme of an example? Brad, your headset says, okay, it is a beach in Wisconsin. A Wisconsin beach. A bit different than Florida beaches, which is why I actually like it. I hate Florida beaches. They're so privatized and hot. So, very thought out example. I have not committed murders, I promise, chat. I have not committed any murders yet. All right. I did see your 88 tip. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Longshot. You're very nice. You're very nice. Thank you. I appreciate sugar daddies and mommies. Thank you. I'm deciding whether or not to bring my Quest 3 on the trip to watch anime or buy a tablet. Would you recommend as the Quest 3 as a better viewing experience over a tablet and sand? Yeah, honestly, yes. Now that they added, that was actually one big update, is they added a airplane travel mode. And I think it works for train. Oh wait, no, it works for. I heard it's good. I heard it works very well. So the idea is, you know, when you're in an airplane, usually the IMU goes crazy and like all your content goes flying. I think literally I do think watching something like anime in a Quest 3 is very good. I just don't think working in a Quest 3 where you're staring at small text every day, I don't think the displays are good for that. But I think they're well enough to watch anime and movies. It's not gonna be amazing as this, but it's still very good. And I think it's way worth more for that use case than the tablet. Much better, I feel. I feel much better about that. That's the thing. The value of $500 for something like a Quest 3, even for that use case, for a lot of people makes a lot more sense. Like, it's very consumer friendly than just gaming. It really is when you think about it. How many people would be willing, even there's a lot of people in this world who travel a lot. And $500 just to have a really amazing TV screen while they're on the airplane, that's a great use case. That really is a really good use case. While also being able to control things and like a 6UF, have hand tracking and all that stuff. It's great. I think you should bring that over a tablet. If you have a comfortable head strap, obviously. AVP is so good with I literally play all my 2D games in AVP. I literally do all my gaming in AVP now. That's actually the one so, you know, that's actually the one thing if Valve released a headset, I'm at the point where if Valve released a headset, I would want literally a Steam Deck on my face. Because even just for 2D games, even for just playing Dota 2, which is one of my favorite games of all time, you can judge me, I understand. Even if I had Dota 2 running on my headset, I connect a keyboard and mouse Bluetooth to that headset, just focus on that one use case, I would be very happy with that. I would love that. I think it's really actually disappointing that AVP doesn't have that many games, 2D games that I want to play. Quest 3 doesn't either, unless I always have to stream it. I always have to stream it from Steam on my PC. And obviously that adds latency, right? So yeah, I think there is kind of something there about having even just 2D games locally rendered in a big, beautiful screen with input. Any input I want to choose, whether it's controller, gamepad, VR controller, or keyboard and mouse. That's big. That's a big use case. Huge. Vision Pro launched pre-orders actually last night in mainland China. And guess what? They sold out really fast the first day. Because, you know, I don't know if you remember, but when the Vision Pro released in USA, my brain just went out. My brain, you had to reserve, when you pre-ordered, you had to reserve a slot, or either did deliveries or you had to reserve a slot in the stores to try it out first. They always give you a demo, and then you would go home, right? In China, they sold out of the first day in 14 provinces of the Vision Pro, like within 30 minutes. They ended up adding more slots later on, and I believe those also sold out. Japan was a bit slower, I heard from friends in Japan. They said that it wasn't like that. But China has a very interesting culture. China's very okay with spending money on luxury, I think. Luxury products, especially tech luxury products. So it made sense that Vision Pro was going to probably have a big burst of interest at the beginning, at least. Yeah. There was something else I wanted to say, but I kind of forgot already. I'm on very little sleep, so this is happening. Yep. Okay. What was I gonna say? What was I talking about? Someone in chat, give me something to talk. Oh, was I checking? So, God, my brain, help. My brain. What's happening with the OZ? Oh, yeah. Good. EOZ. That's the company I work for as well, full time. And we just released new straps. Or no, we didn't release. We just got prototypes for new straps paired with VRC Trans Academy for Pride Month. And maybe I should get those out. But I'm kind of trapped in my chair right now because I don't want to move the camera. Oh, by the way, this is my chair. How do you like my chair? My chair is a spatial computing chair. It's a recliner with a swivel. So yeah, it's interesting. But yeah, we're looking into more. We're obviously always looking at different ideas for products and stuff and things. And yeah, I literally cannot grab it right now because I put it away, unfortunately, like a dummy. So. Quest 4 schematics win. Oh, you know, what's really disappointing, kind of talking about Quest a bit, is LG canceled their headset with Meta. That was like originally planned to be like a Quest Pro 2. It's not actually too shocking, to be honest, though, that this happened. For LG kind of has a history of doing this where they get the VR industry excited. They announce a big project in VR, and then they just like, never mind. They're kind of done that a few times now. Not just for headsets, but display manufacturing as well. I don't know if you remember, there was even a Steam VR headset back in 2017. They showed off at GDC that they were like getting people all excited about. They partnered with Valve for it and everything, and then goodbye. With that headset, I heard it's because LG Display and LG Electronics had some disagreements with each other on how certain things should be done in that headset, and it just got to the point where they just said, meh, it's not that important. VR didn't take off as big as we thought anyway. So you're kind of seeing like a repeat of that now with the Meta LG thing. LG did show off a 10,000 nits micro OLED display at Display Week, if we're talking about a little bit about them. Now, for reminders, the Apple Vision Pro's displays at 100% duty cycle is 5,000 nits, around there. 10,000 nits sounds like amazing, right? Wow, that's gonna be so much brighter. In my opinion, if a headset used something that bright, like the Vision Pro, I wouldn't want them to make this headset double as bright from 100 nits to 200 nits. I would rather them just take that display and then do 10% duty cycle to remove all the motion blur. And then you would have the same brightness as you get to the eyes as Vision Pro 1 does. Just to tell you how bright we need displays to be. 5,000 nits, 10,000 nits, 2 times the difference. No, we just need 10,000 nits for 10% duty cycle with Pancake optics. Another problem with that display is it uses from what I understand, it uses 3 stacks of white OLED with color filters, which is more than with micro lenses on top as well. Sony is making the displays for Vision Pro, which uses 2 white OLED stacks with micro lens array on top, and the yield for those displays is still pretty. It's why displays cost a lot, right? And when you add another whole layer of white OLED, a whole other stack of OLED materials, that means you have a whole other step that you're likely to have a bad display yield, right? So it's they have not built a manufacturing line for those displays. I think I speculate that maybe they were hoping Meta would help them pay to build that, but I don't think Meta, frankly, I don't think Meta is that much interested in a Quest Pro 2 right now. I think if you look at it from an outward perspective, it seems like they were really haunted by how Quest Pro 1 did. It seems like they realized they need to do a lot of stuff in software to really make a Quest Pro 2 worth it. And they've even been partnered with the Horizon OS thing. They're partnering with and this is my biggest problem with Horizon OS. I think it's a great idea in concept. I think it's a great idea. But the problem is, I feel it's going to be really painful for the companies that Meta is partnering with, which includes Asus. So Asus wants to release a high-end gaming headset, is what they're saying, under Horizon OS, the Quest operating system. Now the problem is, Asus is not going to be able to subsidize their headset. They're going to want to make a profit on their hardware. And it's going to be running the same operating system as the Quest 3S and the Quest 3. I really have trouble. I really don't know how this works well for them, for Asus. It works great for Meta because it doesn't matter. No matter how many of them are sold, Asus is the one that's taking the cost of making those HMDs and selling them and marketing them and all that stuff. Meta can just collect the software from it, so it doesn't matter for them that much. And it's really hard when you're competing against a subsidized headset that is by using the same operating system. It's really hard for me to understand. Like Quest 3, it's like, yeah, it's like Alex Sai says in chat. Quest 3 is too competitive. It really is. I really don't know. Like, I don't expect Asus to be able to build out features to differentiate their headset enough from the Quest 3 or Quest 3S. I don't even know if they have access in the software level or the operating system level to do stuff like that. They might not, because it's not like Android, where Android's just like an open source thing thrown up there and companies can do it. It's Meta chooses to work with them, and they probably have to agree by these things. So it de-risks Meta. It de-risks Meta a lot. They don't have to worry about Quest Pro 2 failing as bad as Quest Pro 1 and them sunking all that money into Quest Pro 1. but they still make money from software. Well, if a headset fails from Asus or Lenovo, it's okay, because they're gonna make money from the software side of it. So again, it's a good idea in practice, but when these companies have to compete against a subsidized HMD with all the same software, again, I really struggle to understand. I wouldn't be shocked if this is what made LG very nervous to work with Meta, because I think they're kind of thinking the same thing, frankly speaking. I think LG was really feeling the same way. Like, it was already hard enough for Quest Pro, which was better in every way than Quest 2, slightly in the chip area, but everything else was pretty more features. But the software wasn't different from Quest 2. It was 5 times more expensive than Quest 2. It didn't make sense for the market. And I think it's, yeah, I don't know. We'll see how it goes, but I'm not very confident it's going to work well for the third parties involved. So they don't need to spend a year. Okay, they don't need to, it's true. They don't need to spend a year of R&D, but I frankly don't believe the VR market is big enough for them to compete against a subsidized headset running the same software. It's great. They don't have to do that much R&D. That's great. Barely any. But I don't think the market is big enough. I really don't think the market is big enough for what they want to do. I just don't think it is. I think people want a Vision Pro from Meta, but I think the amount of people that want to pay for a Vision Pro from Meta is pretty low still. And I think Quest Pro 1 is proof of that. Very much proof of that. So, yeah. I just don't know how they, I just don't know how it does well. I don't know, because again, you have to sell a certain amount of units of hardware to really bank on it. Asus is targeting gamers, especially. Gamers, which is what Quest 3 and Quest 3S really is targeting, too. I just don't know. It's very weird. I just don't see them succeeding. If I'm wrong, you can all come back to me and be like, I told you so. Absolutely. But my brain right now is, we're already in a very low point of the gaming industry right now. And the VR gaming industry is already like a subset of that, where like some things are even lower for like profitability and stuff. So, I don't know. It's hard. The Quest 3 and Quest 3S is like, in the Quest 2, is very good for kids, little kids right now. Like, it kind of matches that clientele very well. Probably better than adults for majority sake. Which, I mean, if you're an adult, that feels painful to hear, but I think that's kind of true. And I think you're kind of seeing that in what games are succeeding, what games are very popular. Gorilla Tag. And if you ever go into Horizon, can't even think what it's called, the Horizon Metaverse app, Horizon Worlds, it's all children, because it's free and low cost hardware for a parent to just give to their kid. I don't see someone buying a Quest 3S and being like, I want to spend $1,000 more for the same software experience and slightly better displays, maybe. Because they won't probably be able to get a better chip, because there's only one provider of chips for the Quest platform, and that's Qualcomm. It's very different than the handheld market. It's even very different from the handheld PC market, because the handheld PC, you're starting to see Intel chips come out. And there's a lot more generational changes every year from AMD chips even. And there's a lot more different displays. You can go LCD, OLED. You don't have to worry about optics as much. It's even lower R&D probably to release a gaming handheld than is a VR headset. And there's a lot bigger market. So you can have a bunch of gaming handhelds. And even then, even the gaming handheld market, the PC gaming handheld market, is still very not so competitive, I would say. Like, there's still not a huge market for it as much as, like, probably some companies think there is, and they're just jumping into it. But yeah, it's confusing from an economic standpoint. My brain doesn't understand it. Qualcomm? Yeah, it is Qualcomm. My bad. There are cries for a more expensive Quest, but there was cries for a more expensive Quest after Quest 2, and that was Quest Pro. And that was a first-party headset from Meta. And it could not compete with the Quest 2. Historically, it could not compete with its own adjacent, cheaper device, the Quest 2. It couldn't compete with it. Its own first-party product. It couldn't compete with it. I just don't see it. I don't see it. I think the only headset that'll be successful from this Horizon OS platform is the Xbox One, and all that's going to be is a reskinned Quest 3S or whatever, with an Xbox controller in the box, probably. That's probably the only one that's going to be successful. And that's because Xbox doesn't do anything. They just put their logo on something. Like, I know I'm very cynical. I'm a very cynical person. But I think the VR industry has trained me to be very cynical. There are more moments of failure in VR than there are of success. That's just the truth. And I think one reason you see that is I literally posted a tweet today. So Innersloth, the company that released Among Us, they just recently released a new fund, basically a publishing company for indie games. And they have two things that they stated in this fund that they are not looking for. One, they don't want NFT or Web3 or crypto games. That's all one genre that they list that of games they don't want. The second genre that they don't want for their to fund is VR games. That's pretty rough. That's a pretty rough, truthful situation. Among Us, you know, and I just think that's the reality, is there's no VC interest, venture capitalist interest in investing in anything VR right now, even after Vision Pro. No one wants to buy Quest Pro, really, except less than 1% of the Steam VR market, which are probably the most reliable people to buy a Quest Pro, is people who are going to connect it to VR chat or Steam VR, right? Less than 1% of Steam VR users. I just don't see how it's going to be different in the future. I hope it is, because I want more high-end hardware. That is, I want people to compete on this end of the headset I'm wearing. I want it. But I think the way that Meta's built their market and their target audience and all these things just doesn't support this. I don't think it supports it. But I want to be wrong. I really do want to be wrong with that. Anyway. Sorry. Quest Pro was a lead balloon from the start. I don't think it matters, though. Dude, even this thing took forever to come out. It literally took forever to come out. It got delayed at least 2 years. At least 2 years. All the hardware and stuff was ready 2 years before it released. And that sometimes happens. But I don't think, even if okay, let's put it this way. Would people buy a Quest Pro even if it had the Quest 3 chip and all the other stuff in it, compared to buying a Quest 2 even, or a Quest 3? Probably not. Would you buy a $1,500, which is what the Quest Pro released, would you buy a $1,500 Quest Pro when you can buy a Quest 3? Like literally just put a better chip, or no, put the same chip as Quest 3. Same optics and displays as Quest 3, but add eye and face tracking. Would you pay $1,500 for that? Would you pay $1,500 for that? I doubt it. I don't think anyone would. I don't think anyone would. Because that was basically what Quest Pro was. Quest Pro was a Quest 2 with barely better chip than Quest 2, with eye and face tracking in a headband design, open design, with terrible pass-through. Now Quest 3 has better pass-through than Quest Pro. If you took the same Quest 3 pass-through, put eye and face tracking in the same Quest Pro design, would people spend $1,500 for it? No. They want micro OLED, right? Probably a lot of people want micro or same optics and displays as Vision Pro, but in a Meta headset. Well, you're not selling that for $1,500 anymore. You're selling that for $2,000 plus, just from components and everything. And you're competing against Quest 3 at 4 times the price, but the same software, literally the same software experience as Quest 3. I just don't see how they make it all work. And that's why I'm concerned for companies like Asus. I'm less concerned about Lenovo. I'm not mentioning Lenovo much because Lenovo's been actually releasing headsets pretty regularly, and they only focus on pretty much enterprise. And Lenovo might actually work better because if they focus on enterprise for Meta, they're doing all that side for Meta. They did it. They did it for them. They might do it better than Meta did. Lenovo might genuinely market enterprise AR VR better than Meta did with Quest Pro. I kind of feel that way, and I don't think Lenovo is betting as big as Meta did for Quest Pro, if that makes sense. But the Asus one doesn't make sense to my brain. What about HTC? Oh man, HTC. I don't know. I think HTC is actually hurt. If HTC wants to stay in this market, they might be the most beneficial to adopt Horizon OS. Actually, that might make their products more wanted, their hardware products, because they actually do sell hardware at a profit, and also have software that they try to sell, but their software platform's terrible. It's really bad compared to Meta's even. Way worse than Apple, but worse than Meta's already. So they would benefit from it, but even still, there's still, I don't think, as much of a market for people wanting to buy even an HTC, like, okay, imagine XR Elite. An XR Elite with a Horizon OS. I don't even think there's that much of a market for that. I don't think that many people would go for that even. Yeah. Anyway, I feel like I talked too much about this, frankly. XR Elite is not doing well. It's not a very successful product, from my understand. It's very... But HTC can keep doing this for a while. They're very well funded, so you'll probably still keep seeing headsets from them forever. Not forever, but like a long time. So, do you think Horizon OS will make software updates slow down or increase? I think they, frankly, I don't. I don't think either. I think Meta will just keep releasing software updates that benefit them, and then be like, it's kind of like Valve Steam VR, right? Valve Steam VR supports a lot of headsets, and they just release updates, and if anything breaks, they're like, well, third party. Unless it's a very serious issue with a lot of users, they'll be like, you guys fix it. I kind of think Meta will handle it that way, in my opinion. I could be wrong. I don't know. We don't know yet. We don't know how they're going to handle it. But I think it makes more sense for Meta to stay focused on their first party than for them to hold off on updates for their third parties, or like their first party for third parties and stuff. So Vision Pro is my daily driver, yeah. Anyway, sorry, I don't know how I got so distracted on Horizon OS, but it was kind of something that I think was something I wanted to talk about because of the LG thing, really. The LG headset being canceled, pretty much, really, I think, kind of brought this out. And I did talk about Horizon OS kind of around the time that they announced it, but I've had a lot of time to think about it. And that's how I feel now. How I feel now is basically just all that thought process. Because it would have been great. Okay, putting it aside, even though Quest Pro did not feel like a finished product, I wish it did better. I wish it released better and did better, because then Meta wouldn't be too scared to do it again. Because they're very, they know what they're doing, frankly. From like they know their user base at this point. They know the numbers of how things are selling and what is selling. Like, they're doing this because they have the data to back up what they think they should do and what gambles they should make or not make. So it would have been great to see a timeline where Quest Pro did well, and that emboldened Meta to push more of that side. Because I really do think the high end is so important. Going back to this headset one more time, $3,500 starting, $4,000 really, if you put tax and some of that stuff in with the price. When a Vision Pro 2 comes out, and if it keeps the same price, I am willing to spend that much for a headset, this kind of headset. Because I know what technologies need to be made in mass production. I know what technologies are needed to make this there. I know how expensive these things are. I know what it costs to be able to make hardware profitable, to make this a more organic industry. So if a Vision Pro 2 came out, $3,500 as well, I'd buy it, in the hopes that Apple does keep pushing that. Keep pushing those components to be made. And I'll be very happy buying it. So that's why I value the high-end stuff. There's still so many things that even VR headsets, well, not even AR glasses, but VR headsets, a lot of these components and technologies that need to be made, and you just can't do it unless you are shooting for those kind of price points. So I'm shocked Apple released this still. I'm shocked that they released this. It's crazy. It's literally insane that they released this. But I'm very happy they did, because they are pushing the components further, and I think they will keep doing that generation over generation, because this is still far from a perfect hardware that we need. So, yeah. Woo. Mass market is dead on arrival? I don't think it matters. Okay, imagine back in the 80s, 70s even, the first PCs come out. The first personal computers. So we knew computers were valuable for enterprises and huge businesses, and these supercomputers that helped us calculate things to get rockets to the moon and stuff. We knew that was valuable. But then the first personal computers come out. First personal computers, thousands of dollars come out, and people saw that all it could do was a simple word processor on a command line. And that's it. They're paying thousands of dollars for that one thing. Could you imagine if all the naysayers back then was like, oh, computers are dead on arrival, this will never take off, we should just give up. Keep using all of our old technologies back then, or using notepad and paper to do just word processing, and never keep things in line with the technology growing and progressing. I mean, it was even easier back then, because at least Moore's Law was coming into effect. We had Moore's Law. So we knew of how powerful computers were going to get every 2 years. We don't even have like a Moore's Law for VR. We don't have one, except for chips. Even Moore's Law is a little these days for that. But we don't have that for like displays and optics. We don't have it. So it's even harder to kind of create that easy trajectory of making this hardware affordable while also being to the point where everyone will have one. It took 20 years, more than 20 years, for computers to really become mass market. You need to think of VR headsets like that, I think. I really think you need to think VR headsets like that. I really do. And if you think of the industry and the hardware of VR like that, I guarantee you'll be much happier. Because if you constantly feel like that it's gonna just explode overnight, we're gonna have a boom and everyone's gonna be using VR headsets and every company investing in VR, all these game companies are gonna be able to make VR games, and then when it doesn't happen because it's just not organic or affordable for companies to invest like that, you'll be happier thinking the other way, the more frankly I feel down to earth way. Then, because again, like look at PSVR 2. So many people I saw. I'm very cynical, so I laughed when I saw it. But there was a rumor, right, that they were going to announce a new Astrobot game for PlayStation 5, and it was not going to have PSVR 2 support. Which Astrobot is a game that started on PlayStation VR 1. It was a VR only game, and when that rumor became true, I just posted lol because it was so. I wasn't laughing at the community who wanted it to be VR. I was laughing at the truth that even Sony, who released a $500 PSVR 2, doesn't even want to invest in their own first-party company to do that game for VR. They don't want to do it. On a platform that they just released last year, on a platform that clearly they don't seem to care about, or they don't want to take the gamble. Because the reality is it probably isn't worth for them monetarily to do it. So me thinking the way I do, being very cynical and seeing this industry as a very long haul effort, I don't feel as hurt by that. I don't feel as hurt by it. But I saw all the comments of people who bought into PSVR 2 who love VR gaming. They saw this and they were just so like everyone acted like their grandmother died. And I find that really sad. Not their sad, but the sad that this happened. Because there's constantly this narrative that, yeah. So, yeah. All I know is for PSVR 2 though, I think the final statements I said on my PSVR 2 review was I said wait a year before you buy one and see if there's any games, and holy crap. I got a lot of people mad at me for not recommending it outright back then. A lot of people were upset with me. It was like considered illegal for me to say stuff like that. It felt like it was illegal, but I don't feel any regret now because frankly there were some things that Sony did in the hardware of PSVR 2 that made me feel like they weren't actually that committed to VR. And I think with the software a year and a half later, almost, it feels like a Vita. So, yeah, sad times. Zuck has the biggest balls in this VR industry. They're literally burning money to make this alive. And I'm not sure. I don't know where this camera's pointed out. I feel like it's shifted quite a bit. I keep kicking it. Okay. I'm not sure if it's like even matters in the long run though. That's kind of my point is, you know, you can burn a ton of money, but there's some point where you have to think, are you going to be profitable doing so? Are you ever going to be profitable in this market? Even Apple's clearly burning money releasing a $3,500 headset with ridiculous components that are yielding so poorly. But the way they act about Vision Pro and VR feels very like they're away. I feel like they're not drinking the Kool-Aid as much at Apple. I think they see the value of this technology, but I don't think they see the value as it exploding overnight. Whereas Meta, I feel, again, I do think Zuck believes in the technology, but I feel like he drinks too much of the Kool-Aid that it's going to happen overnight. And I feel like that is why they release products like this very differently from each other. That more than anything. I think that is the basis for all the things they do. Is that feeling. So, yeah. I wish I waited a year, even with pessimistic estimation. Sony were way on. Again, like, I was hopeful for PSVR 2, not even from a hardware standpoint, but I wanted to see more compute thrown at VR than you're currently seeing. But like when PSVR 2 wasn't really gonna, I frankly, I think the realization that PSVR 2 wasn't gonna like explode, not even, I'm not gonna use the word explode, that's a terrible word, but like be supported very well from developers. I mean, a lot of developers don't even want to make the foveated rendering work for their games. I kept seeing articles about how a game released and they wouldn't use the eye track stuff, even though it would make their games look better on the system. When I kept seeing stuff like that, I think that's like probably was the last straw for me to really care about VR gaming. If you really, I know it's really pathetic. I'm aware that's pathetic, but yeah, I really did enjoy Call of the Mountain a bit, even though like it made me so freaking motion sick. Oh my god. But it was an experience that was beautiful to look at. Wasn't too gamey. It didn't feel like a 2D game ported to VR, which I don't feel very often. But and I saw that a lot of people who play that game from the 2D market, they actually thought it was terrible because it wasn't Horizon. It wasn't a real Horizon game to them because they thought of all the things you can do in the 2D Horizon games, and you just can't do that in a VR game. You just can't, because it'll make you. The game already made people motion sick. It made me motion sick. But if you want to do some of the things in that, oh my gosh! So, the gaming mindset is just feels incompatible with VR unless you come in advance with very certain expectations. But the people that will come in with those expectations are not mass market gaming. They're not. That's why the Batman game got a ton of downvotes, thousands and thousands, was it like 80 to 90% downvotes, because people found out it was a VR game. The gaming market, the mainstream gaming market saw it was a VR game, and they couldn't play it on their Xbox or PS5. So, camera shifted a bit. Oh, I'm sorry. I don't. I think I'll probably perfect this as time goes on of the layout I want to do. Oh, uh-oh. Hold on a second, chat. I know you probably can't see something. I know something just crashed. Developer beta moment. Okay. Give me a moment. Actually, maybe is this still? Oh, it's still. Wait, is actually what? Is it still mirroring? Oh crap! That's actually shocking. Okay. That is freaking shocking to me. Okay, hold on. No, it's not. It's not mirroring. It's lying. It's lying. It's literally not mirroring. Okay. Hold on, chat. I'm sorry. Okay. Let's it's okay. Now I think it will be mirroring. I think hello. Hold on. Oh, am I not on the live? YouTube UI on streaming is still kind of annoying. Hold on. Let me refresh. I'm sorry, chat. I did a funny. It's still doing the funny, I think, actually. Why does it say 151 out 250? That makes 0 sense. Okay. Okay, let me first connect to my headset. I'm crying. Okay. Now let me see if I can mirror now. Okay, I think we're good now. Wait. Okay, yeah, we're good. We're good. Thank you for your patience, chat. Oh my god. I know I lost like 15 viewers, but who cares? Um, wait. Is it working? Dude, why is this show? Ah! Nope, why is it not working? Is it, oh wait, is OBS the problem then? Look at this fool. Oh my god. Dude, it's literally, I see it. I see it. I literally see it. Ah, I literally see it. What is it screen recording then? Okay, let me try it one more time. Okay, let's see if it works now. Does it work? I think this is an OBS problem, guys. I think it's OBS that's screwing the pooch for me this time. OBS, you disappoint me. You disappoint. All right, whatever. I'll just no more first person view. We'll just go all camera view. We'll go all camera view. You'll see my beautiful face. All right. Anyway, sorry again. Awkward. Very, very awkward. Very annoying. What did I miss? Not a real stream without some scuff. That is honestly so true that I can't even stand how true this is. The sad part is, like, I think I'll be able to figure out a better method of what I'm doing right now, because my point is I do want to do on my streams. Or here, let me phrase it this way. I kind of have to do my streams while I'm wearing a VR headset, because the only display that I have, for the most part, is my phone. Because I got rid of my monitors to use Vision Pro for the past 4 months as a challenge originally. Wait, what? My battery level? Oh, I know you can't see, but I'm pretty much, whenever I'm sitting down, I'm always tethered to the wall. And it was not even like that on Vision Pro, but even on Quest 3 and any Quest headset, I would always be tethered to the wall, like when I'm sitting down. I mean, to me, it feels like a laptop in that way, where it's like when I'm traveling, obviously I'm not using the laptop very often plugged in, but when I'm at home at my desk or whatever I'm at, I'm probably keeping it plugged in most of the time, most likely. I prefer you wear the headset than not wear it on stream. Oh. As the first headset, is the Quest 2 worth it? Wait! Don't get Quest 2. Wait for Quest 3S. That comes out later this year. Like, literally 3 months, probably. July, August. Yeah, wait. If you can wait 3 months, you literally will get something as cheap as the Quest 2, but better chip, and will have color pass-through. Quest 3S is just worse Quest 2. How is it worse Quest 2? It's worse Quest 3, but it should be better Quest 2, unless I'm missing something. Unless I'm missing something. If you stream more regularly, I recommend a way to reduce the motion first person. Oh, right. See, what I always want. Yeah, that's annoying. Was it from the pass-through, or was it from was the motion blur from the pass-through, or was it also you saw it when I moved my head in the VR environment too? Because I feel like, I mean, I guess it also doesn't like, My head shaking. My bad. My bad. My bad. Put my head on a gimbal. Maybe I should like get a neck brace that keeps my neck stationary. But then people would be like people would take it out of context and be like, this is what Vision Pro did to this guy's neck. Oh my god. But hey, bad publicity is still publicity, right? I had stuttering also. I'm sorry, guys. I tried. I'm trying to do things differently because, like, I don't know. I kind of feel like it's interesting to do this weird stuff and figure out the problems and try to make the problems, like, kind of interesting for... But, yeah, I don't think I nailed it yet. I have definitely not nailed it yet, so... You can use software to reduce the motion by reducing FOV. But I think that's... Okay, so the problem with that... I know what feature you're talking about. I'll just say that I can't really do that. As far as I know. I can't do that for a stream. I can do it for short clips. But I can't do it for a stream. And also, when you use that developer feature, it will start to thermal throttle the headset. So, I think it records a 4K perfect view with everything. No foveated rendering or anything, which this entire headset is only possible because of foveated rendering. There's so many systems that rely on it, and the eye tracking, really, not just the foveated rendering, but the entire system relies so much on the eye tracking that it's crazy. Just put the lens up to the camera. Actually, you joke about it, but like, one thing I liked about Steam VR when I did content for Steam VR is you could use Live to create a third-person camera. I kind of wish there are scenarios where I can do that on Vision Pro, but I don't think that is a thing. It's definitely foveated rendering. Yeah, I know. I know it's not the best streaming experience here, but yeah. All right. Anyway, sorry. All right. Let's. Did I miss any super chats anyway? Oh. Headset historian said €2. Gotta jump off and watch the rest later. Cheers. Thank you. Let's do 2 more topics. Is there 2 topics that I haven't talked about? We should talk about. Huh, chat? Huh? Motion. What about an OBS for smoothing? I'm not sure. Resonite? What about Resonite? I don't have much to say about Resonite. It's Neos VR kind of, but not. It still runs very poorly when I have more than 6 or 8 people, which is pretty common whenever I'm in social VR. I'm usually in a fair group of people. Resonite feels like it's very good if you have a very small, close-knit friend group that like to build stuff together. I feel Resonite's good for that. But I don't feel it's amazing for like getting together in big groups and like drinking together and chatting about the day. It doesn't feel tailored for that, which is okay. It's got its audience and stuff. EOZ facial tracker, we're still working on it. Nothing to really announce other than we're working on it still. Do you still think VR chat? Yes. I know you could. I should have showed you, but the first app that I have on my, now that I can actually change the app order on my Vision Pro, the first app that I have is ALVR, and because there's no controllers, as you can imagine, the only app that I think is worth my time in Steam VR when I'm using Vision Pro is VR chat, and I never regret going into VR chat ever. Freaking fantastic. But for EOZ, by the way, here's the new product that we're working on for full body straps, partnered with the amazing VR chat community known as VRC Trans Academy. Yeah, they're they're very nice, I think. Yeah. Thoughts about Pico 4S? Oh man, Pico 4S doesn't make sense to me either. Like, but maybe because I'm American. Maybe that's why Pico 4S doesn't make sense to me. Because like Pico 4 made sense to Europe because there were some big countries in Europe that didn't have access to Quest. Um, but like a Pico 4S, I don't know. Unless you're using it for, I guess if you're using it for PC VR, it might be okay. But I already think Quest 3 is very good for PC VR. And if you don't want either Pico 4S or Quest 3, then you're probably buying a tethered headset. So I don't know. Pico 4S sounds very boring. I'm not really interested in it at all, based on what I've heard about it. I don't even know why they would release it actually. Like I don't think I don't think a new chip is gonna make people flock to Pico. Because they've pretty much fired a ton of people from their XR team in their gaming sector. That Just Dance game that was supposed to release for Pico is now releasing on the Quest platform instead. So I don't think there's a reason to invest in that for the most part, unless you just don't want a meta headset. Which there's a market for that too, but yeah, it just seems like you're buying a Skeleton Crew product. Yeah. It might be a good Quest 3 alternative, but I actually don't. So the Pico 4 optics, the only good thing I can say about them is they have amazing stereo overlap, which is great, but they still have the pupil swim thing that other Pico headsets had. And for me, that's like a huge no-go. I really don't like pupil swim in optics. That like drives my brain crazy. DisplayPort alt mode. If it has DisplayPort alt mode, then it all makes sense, and that product makes sense. And you know what? To be fair, they might be more like they'd be more likely to do alt mode now that they kind of realize that they're not making a killing on software sales anymore. Pico, dude, Pico, the Byte, I'll say ByteDance. ByteDance is literally the definition of a company trying to do the meta thing, trying to burn tons of money because they thought the market was going to be huge. They kind of fell for the crypto metaverse boom. I shouldn't say crypto. They fell for the metaverse boom, I feel like, ByteDance. And when they realized the actual market, they were like, hell no. No. No, thank you. I think they're very, I think people should actually look at that, look at them historically. And you might argue, well, they didn't release in USA, so they lost a lot of sales. But even still, I don't really think they would have done much better in USA. I really don't think they would have done too much better. There's like no news on MetaQuest Pro 2 other than like the original plan one that was partnered with LG is basically like shelved indefinitely. We haven't heard anything of Meta releasing their own first party one in a while. The only thing that's interesting is they were working quite a bit on codec avatars in the MetaQuest software. There was a lot more references to it, which you would need a MetaQuest Pro type headset to incorporate features like that. But it's been pretty dead silent. And yeah, anyway. You want a Quest 3 with the AVPI and face tracking so bad? I think the lack of eye tracking is really the one place where Meta is really screwing the pooch in hardware more than anything else. I think eye tracking is so incredibly valuable. Um, and I think they know this now. I think genuinely Meta will not release a Quest 4 without eye tracking. I really think they will definitely have eye tracking in Quest 4. Yeah. Why are they trying to compete with Facebook? I mean, ByteDance has a ton of money. They're very rich. I mean, dude, Facebook was terrified of. I mean, they're still kind of terrified of TikTok. TikTok is a quite. I mean, I don't think it's as big of a moneymaker as it was a couple years ago. Like I've heard that it's kind of stagnated a bit, but like still, ByteDance is making a lot of money, but they don't want to invest in gaming, any gaming, not even just VR gaming. But they like the CEO pretty much cut all their gaming teams across the board at the company. But it didn't make it frankly didn't make sense for Pico to try to do the meta thing of subsidizing and burning cash. It was never going to succeed, I think. I mean it's barely working for Meta. Yeah, and I think you literally can only have one company, sadly, that can do that. And it's still pretty rough. Like I can't. It's so much money, so much money. Go back to wearing big screen. I have that. I have a friend. I borrow. I'm definitely borrowing my big screen to a friend because I don't like having really nice hardware laying around when I can just have a friend use it while I'm not using it most of the time. So yeah. Xbox Cloud Gaming for AVP. Yeah. I'm so, wait, don't they have it? Wait, hold on. Because now I'm confused. Isn't there an iPad app? I guess they haven't done it yet. Yeah. They haven't done one yet because I know they started allowing cloud apps on the App Store around the time Vision Pro came out, but I guess I didn't realize that they didn't release one yet. And after I got eye tracking, there's no there really is no going back. And the whole look and pinch thing, not even just the look and pinch thing, but so recently in Vision OS 2.0, they have it so you can connect a game pad like a PlayStation 5 controller, and at the system level, you can literally look at things and then use the joysticks and the buttons on the PS5 controller to interact with stuff. And it's if you don't like the pinch thing, even that I think will make people like, huh, okay. Because you literally just look at windows and elements on things on your screen. You press a button, like an actual haptic button. The people that don't like the pinching will like that, I think, a lot. It feels quite surprising, like how interesting that is. So I'm so mad the PSVR 2 won't. The PSVR 2 on PC adapter seems like a really waste of time at this point. I don't know who that is for now. Like you get a Fresnel OLED headset, and that's what you get. I think that's like if you're in the market for a Fresnel OLED headset that's semi-affordable, that's what you get. I mean, but you're missing out on so many of the features that it has. It's kind of painful, I feel, to buy a hardware and know that there's stuff inside it that you just can't use like that on a PC, especially the PC. Dude, the PC crowd hate when they buy hardware that is not being used. They hate it so much. They'll literally make giant fusses when that happens. So yeah, it's pretty wild. PSVR adapters will get rid of stock. Yeah, I kind of feel that way a bit, but I don't know if that's even going to work. So we'll see. Someone's gonna write firmware, probably. Yeah, I think we're gonna have to wait for the furries to really take advantage of PSVR on PC with that adapter. The furries will do it. Keyboard and yes, keyboard especially. Keyboard is, I mean, I always use a keyboard with my Vision Pro. I freaking, if you really want me to hate on something about Vision Pro, like, the keyboard, the digital keyboard's terrible. Uh, oh, you know what? I'm not. I feel the voice to text where you click on the mic icon and you say stuff and it types. I feel like it gotten worse on Vision OS 2.0 for me. I already didn't like it, but I would use it over tapping the buttons on the keyboard for writing sentences. But it seems even worse now. I don't know what they did. I don't know if they're setting something up with new models for their new AI garbage, but it feels really worse for me. I don't know. Apple keyboard will not work with virtual overlay. I think it works. I think it's only. Oh, it says will now. Yeah. I have a tweet that I posted 2 nights ago of even my headless MacBook, my MacBook where I chopped off the freaking display. It now appears. So there's a secret setting on Vision OS where in developer settings you can activate Mac Virtual Display while in an immersive app, which has been my biggest problem with the Vision Pro. Is I never want to be in virtual, or no, not virtual, immersive apps, because once I'm in immersive apps, I lose all of the multitasking, which I get it. That the immersive apps are going to be the more compute heavy and GPU heavy stuff that they can't do it all at once. Except the one time I had a bug where I went into ALVR and it did have everything up because it didn't close the windows automatically that one time. But yeah, that drives me nuts. It feels really sad to lose all of my apps when I hop into ALVR. But recently they added in Vision OS 2.0 a developer setting to at least give you Mac Virtual Display while you're in immersive apps. So I was able to load up ALVR, go into VR chat streaming to my headset, and then see my headless Mac's display and the keyboard pass through for my headless MacBook. And it looked really nice. That was really cool. Still want more out of that because it almost makes me feel like the way it is now, I don't want to be in immersive apps. They're like pushing me away from wanting to be in immersive apps because I just lose too much to get it. So, yeah. You can't have you can only have Mac Virtual Display with that setting enabled. You can't have anything else. Can't have anything else with immersive apps. So what are examples of immersive apps? Like if you're in that's why okay, I didn't talk about this, but Damio launched on Vision OS. I was really disappointed. I was really disappointed by its implementation because they did give two options. One was to play full immersive, which you know it's full VR, right? You're in the basement like in the other versions of it. But I also noticed that it was very poor rendering. It wasn't very good. And I lose all my apps, right? I lose all my apps because it's an immersive app. But you have another choice to choose the shared space mode, which is that's the spatial compooping mode. And then when I clicked that, I was so disappointed because I saw that all it was a 2D Damio game. It wasn't a Damio board in my pass-through environment. It wasn't what I thought it was going to be. It was just a flat app in a somewhat 3D frame. And yeah, it was not what it was. Just it didn't take advantage of anything that the Vision Pro is. And from what I understand, it was a Unity problem because Unity is I think they're adding more stuff to Unity with Vision OS 2.0, but with 1.0 they just couldn't do it. They were very limited, especially on shaders. Apparently Vision OS 2.0 in Unity is getting better shaders and custom shaders. So I'm hoping that they update Daemio for Vision OS when that update to Unity comes, because Daemio is like literally the app I wanted to show off tabletop games for VR more than the other stuff that they have right now, because it would have been perfect. So yeah, again, they do have full immersive. It just feels like a bad implementation. I would rather play Daemio on Steamo, or I'd rather play Daemio on Steam VR or Quest standalone than I would play on Vision OS as it stands. Yeah, you still have to have Unity Pro subscription to dub for it. Isn't that wonderful? Isn't that awesome? I'm plugged in. My battery life usually is around 2 hours, so I'm not plugged in. So, oh, are you saying goodnight, Colin? Goodnight, Colin, or whoever left. Do you think OLED, micro LED would have enough runtime to use them daily because they get dimmer over time? Did your AVP already have signs of reduced brightness? I haven't noticed, but I also haven't done any measurements really. Yeah, I haven't noticed much as far as I know, but I mean, well, they're driving the materials on 10% of the time for the frame. So that, or no, they're not even doing 10%, they're doing 20%. So that does help a little bit. But I mean, yeah, of course OLED materials do degrade over time, but I haven't noticed it yet. So yeah. You can do everything in Quest 3, you can do in Vision Pro. Smiley face. That's why I'm only messing around with native AVP apps. Yeah, like the literally the shared space feels so good to use. Feels so good to use that you just don't want to do, you don't want to do anything else. Anakazi, the thing you're talking about, yeah. That's why I love that Imagine company so much, and I want the Samsung Display who bought that company. They're purely focused on getting that commercialized. They literally are targeting Vision Pro 2 with that with direct RGB type technology. It is what I want. It's what I've been pushing for so long. It's feasible. It is feasible. It's just it's a mass production thing. Again, that's why I put so much. When I saw what Imagine was doing, when I saw they were the only company that was really seriously looking in direct RGB emission micro displays, I was like, this is it. This is what we need. I was so happy when Samsung Display bought them. I was so happy. I was like, dude, it's gonna happen. It's actually gonna happen. Actually gonna happen. So, how's the sweet spot? It's very good. Very good. What people the problems people okay, let me tell you the problems people usually have, and even me. The biggest complaint people have is one, motion blur, because again, the duty cycle is not as low as Quest or LCD headsets. It's 20% versus the normal 10% duty cycle on those LCD headsets. And two, the FOV, the vertical FOV, is much lower by 10 degrees, or 10 to 15 degrees more than like a Quest 3, for example. And that feels noticeable to people. It's like pill capsules almost. The horizontal though, people think the horizontal's low, but they're I mean, obviously, okay, it depends on which facial gasket you get, like every headset, but I measured actually 111 degrees horizontal, and some people have been measuring around 110 as well. If you have the thin ones, the thinnest recommended one. But if you have contact lenses, prescription inserts, they bump up the thickness of the facial interface a bit, so you'll lose some FOV obviously when that happens, because they want to make sure that the inserts aren't touching your eyelashes. The pass-through, I'm not even talking about pass-through blur. I'm literally in full VR right now, in my full VR environment. moving my head, looking at chat. That text. I think that's more annoying to me. Like I can handle the motion blur of the pass through, like sure, but oh my god, I don't like when my virtual elements are also blurring. That's my biggest complaint about every headset that has this problem. Is it's very annoying. Worse than PSVR 2, I'm guessing you mean, because PSVR 2 also had a persistence blur. I don't think I think it's not as bad as this, but it was still really bad. And what frustrated me about PSVR 2 is they didn't need to have the persistence blur. What Sony did is they wanted to have something advertised as high brightness HDR. So they forced that display to run very bright without caring about motion clarity, which I would have, I just believe that was the wrong choice. I think motion clarity for VR is more important than what they did with that product, because it's not like they're using inefficient optics. They're using Fresnel, which is like 90 to 100% light efficiency. So yeah, it drives me nuts. Can they make black pixels? What are black pickles? Black pixels for LCD to enhance the blacks? No. The blacks aren't created by the pixels. They're created by turning off the backlight. Well, okay, not fair. They do. Okay. Basically, no. Just no. They can't, because a black pixel is the pixel just turned off. But then you have the backlight that's always has to be on for the entire image going through all the time, which is why they're trying to resort to mini LED. You have to shine light through an LCD to actually get the pixels to light up. Mini LED allows that backlight to turn off different zones. But the problem with mini LED is, especially for VR displays, it's really hard to get a ton of zones on there because the LEDs can only be shrunk so small. And that problem with shrinking the LEDs so small is how you run into all the problems with micro LED in some ways. So persistence with conjunction with, again, I did not get as sick using a headset until I used PSVR 2. Like I think I remember I was very harsh on PSVR 2 because it made me motion sick. I thought it was crazy that after 7 years of using VR headsets and getting used to motion, like the VR legs, when I got PSVR 2, I was motion sick for a lot of it. So that made me, of course, more harsh on a product that literally makes you puke. I don't know how people didn't understand that. It was making me sick, dude. Like, it didn't have to be like that. That's why it's also frustrating. Oh, I don't use my big screen Beyond anymore. I only use this. Dual layer LCD uses too much light, and they're also really hard to so obviously, okay, so yeah, you can use dual layer LCD. That will make some pixels darker, but then you have to drive it's not really worth it because it's also going to be more power, which LCDs already cost more power than OLEDs. It's a continuous problem. And then you see stuff like ooh, what was it? Meta used so Meta did show off a prototype with a dual layer LCD, but they did it with a super bright backlight. It was like a fluorescent, I think it was like fluorescent backlight, something like that. And that was the Starburst prototype. That was like 2,000, or I think it was like 20,000 nits to your eyes in that prototype. And it was high contrast because they had the dual layers of LCD. I bet you it didn't get fully black, even with the dual layer LCD. I bet you the darkest spots were not full black. But they were trying to show off how immersive things could look like if you at least have that huge contrast and super bright parts of the zones, right? And I've tried a VR prototype that at least gets 10,000 nits to the eye. This was actually a laser backlit LCD, and that was awesome. They showed beach scenes, and like That was pretty cool. It was a late. Actually, that's a company you should look at if you're going to AWE this week. I think they're gonna be there. They're called. Who are they? What are they called? Oh no, I can't remember their name. But you'll see them. They talk about a laser RGB light chip. I know they're showing off a lot of AR stuff, but I hope they're still showing off the VR prototype they made too, because they literally made a VR size LCD with a light chip that puts lasers through optical fibers and then pumps the laser lights through the actual backlight into the LCD, so you get a super bright LCD image, and it was very immersive. It was like, wow. That was really cool. VR locomotion AVP is like mostly teleport in actual native experiences. For ALVR and VR chat, I usually have to do gesture-based stuff, which VR chat is getting 2 updates that's going to benefit me greatly. Using Vision Pro most of the time. One, they're getting skeletal input very soon, which is SteamVR 2.0 input, which means I'll be able to actually use my full finger tracking very, very nicely natively in VR chat without using OSC parameters, which I hate OSC with a passion. And then 2, while they're adding that, they're also adding a bunch of gesture-based movement and settings features for the hand tracking as well. So I'll be able to, I'll have a good time in VR chat now. John Sandoval showed off. What? He got in? I'm gonna have to message some people. I need in. I'm the person that'll benefit most. Let me in. When is that update? I think it's like next month or something, or the end of the month. I saw very soon. Man, I have your old big screen. I already have a friend that basically has it for now. Oh yeah, Betrayal Lab. Betrayal Lab. Yep, Betrayal Lab. I think they're a European startup. I forget which country. Very small country, I think. But yeah, if they have the VR prototype there, that is definitely something you should experience in your life, even if that is probably impossible to mass produce right now in volumes. Still something. I think when you put that up to your eyeball and you see it, you'll be like, okay, yeah, I get why Brad talks about these extremely high nits displays and all that stuff. You'll get it. It'll just click in your brain forever. So yeah. Can you glue that face? I know some people who've already modded Ion face tracking the big screen beyond. There's someone on Twitter called Echo the Neko. They've posted their amazing monstrosity of doing that. Yeah. Or maybe I think it's both Ion face tracking. I'm pretty sure. Anyway, the only thing is they laid off 30% of their devs. Yeah, VRChat's one of those companies that made a lot of money during the metaverse boom. I need to go back. I'm sure I did some live streams back during the metaverse boom, because that was probably the most miserable time I've ever had watching the VR industry. I saw all these scam company VR. I'm not saying VR chat is a scam company, but you know what I mean. I saw a lot of companies come out of the woodwork, call themselves a metaverse company. I saw a lot of VR companies that shouldn't be raising money, getting a lot of money. There was a contact lens company that was ridiculous, freaking ridiculous. They said they could make AR contact lenses. They raised so much money during that time. And then they were like, never mind, we're just going to make micro LEDs. Ha ha! Oh, man. Mojo Vision, you know. Well, yeah, that was terrible. Like, there's 2 sides of it on there. I don't like XR Twitter very much. Most of XR Twitter is miserable. Not all of it, but a lot of it is pretty miserable these days for me to watch. But there's two sides. There's kind of two sides of XR Twitter. A lot of it. One is people complaining that they can't raise enough funding from venture capitalists like they could during the metaverse boom. I see a lot of that on my timeline. Those people, I don't give a crap about you. I don't care. That time of VR was fake. It wasn't real. It wasn't real. It was fake. Stop wishing for it to happen again. It will not happen until VR actually reaches an organically healthy place. We're not getting that for a while. We're not getting that again. And there's the other side that are like, yeah, VR is really cool. You should just like kind of enjoy the ride. It's great. Things are happening for a reason. Things are slowing down for a reason. Because everything in comparison to that metaverse boom or even the Quest 2 boom feels small in comparison. But that's just things coming back to reality a bit. Like, again, if you have the mindset for it, you won't be so upset about it. So Twitter itself is miserable. I was a VP of a local chapter of a global VR group. Wow. We're still in the 80s of VR. I keep saying that. Like, when I think when people hear me say that, or hear not just me, but other people say that, they think, oh, that just means the technology, not the consumer, the mass market readiness of VR. No, it's both. You can't have one without the other. The technology and the mass market readiness is still like 80s right now for AR VR. Oh, it's called X, not Twitter. My bad. Yeah. These are exactly. These are the good old days. These are like, oh man, these really are. These are the good old days that, oh frick. Oh, I forgot. Oh god, I'm sorry. I was getting lazy. I wanted to put my recliner up, but I forgot I have a camera. This is the problem. I'm literally looking. I'm so stupid. I'm looking at my own webcam view, thinking that somehow. Oh my god, I got brain damage. It's out of focus. I don't think I'll be able to fix that right now. Maybe I will. Anyway, early days. Only reason on Twitter is, by the way, again, I can't recommend Luna's tweets enough. Again, if you really want to watch what Meta's doing for software updates and stuff, Luna's very passionate about Meta stuff. So they're like the opposite of me. And let me frame it this way. Luna is me but instead of Steam VR data mining and being excited about Steam VR data mining, it's all Meta. It's all Meta stuff. So if you're interested in that, definitely check them out. At Luna YIAN. So yeah. Anyway. What do you think about Vive self-trackers? I have them. I don't like them. I don't like how I don't like them. They're not ready. They're not ready to replace Vive trackers, basically. They're not there yet. Setting them up especially is the biggest pain in the butt. It's very rare that I get so frustrated by trying to set something up that I just give up. And the Vive Ultimate trackers are one of those things where I just couldn't be arsed to really do it. So it's way more fertile ground as of late versus Steam data fields. That's true. We get like we get very little to data mine these days on the Steam end. It's mostly just game scope updates that we don't know when that will actually make it into something. Whereas Steam VR beta mines, when those pop off, we kind of have a good idea of how built out that feature is and like when it's gonna launch. Like the Steam VR theater mode, the new updates one, like we knew that was like, dang, that's gonna be released for everyone pretty soon. And it was fun to watch that get built out. So, any reviews to review the Crystal Light? No, not really. I'm more interested in the Super, and that's only because I'm very fascinated by the optical display cartridge swap out system. I want to see how much they mess that up. Not mess that up. That's the wrong word. I'm sorry. I want to see if they if they do it right. Because I think to do something like that, you have to do it perfectly. You have to do everything right for that to work. And we'll see if they can. We'll see if that is them. So. Can you imagine how hard it is for me to like enjoy a Vision Pro? Like do all my work in it, do all my daily tasks in it, watch all my content in it, do everything I do. Can you imagine how hard it is for me when people ask me, should I buy a Vision Pro? Like, I'm like, I always ask them, oh, are you an insane person? Are you insane like me? Are you crazy? I was crazy once. If you're crazy, then maybe. I would never recommend a normal person walking up to me out of the blue and know that I'm wearing this, and like they look like, they look like a dude bro, right? They're a dude bro out in public, and they're like, hey, I got a MacBook. Should I buy a Vision Pro? I'd be like, hell no, get out of here. No, probably not. That's why I only want yeah. Yeah. Well, Vision OS 2.0 is out for developers in a developer beta. Anyone can download it if they have. You don't even have to pay for it anymore. You used to have to pay to get into developer betas, but now you don't, which is great. So I've been using it. 2.0 is a vast improvement over 1.0. Even though it's mostly little stuff, it's literally little stuff. All the little stuff. And Vision OS was already amazing because of all the little stuff, but they keep adding and doing more little stuff that just like makes it great. The tracking. So the problem with Vive Ultimate trackers is it's not actually real slam tracking. It's a static map of tracking, which is why that calibration that I was talking about is so annoying. Is so important. Because if you don't do that calibration right, where you literally have to, so first you have to like stand up and you have to like point the cameras at all different parts of your room, and then you have to like kneel down as well and do the same thing. It uses that static map forever in your tracking. So if you move a couch or a couch a little bit, or different, if you rearrange your room a little bit, you'll have to do that calibration again because it's not simultaneous localization constantly running. It's just that static map. If you go behind the couch, like let's say there's a wall behind the couch and there's some furniture or something behind there, and you go behind the couch with full body, it'll get confused because obviously when you're in front of the couch doing the scan, it doesn't know it doesn't compute that there might be stuff behind that couch. So I didn't have a good experience with them. I bought them with my own money, by the way. I paid the $600. Or yeah, $600. It's not true. It's learning space. I literally had someone data mine it. I don't know what you're talking about. They literally data mined it and found that it's like a static map, which is why they do the calibration the way they do. It's not okay. Think of Quest Pro controllers. Did you ever have to, with Quest Pro controllers, do a calibration map where you have to kneel down, point the controller cameras everywhere, and then save a profile? No, because that's actually doing real slam. And even the Quest Pro controllers, people have issues with drifting and stuff on the Quest Pro controllers. I think they're amazing. I think they're the pinnacle of slam technology, frankly. They're fantastic. The way they sync with the headset's space and everything, it's really good. It's very, like, But again, I bought them my own money. They were a pain to get working, and they're just not good enough. They might be good enough someday because hey, that's all software issues. It's not the hardware; it's all software. But they need to get as good of computer vision as the Quest Pro controllers, frankly, for me to want to use them. So, why? And it's hard because Slam is hard. Doing Slam is really hard. Meta's very good at Slam. They're very, very good at Slam tracking. It's hard to expect companies that don't have so much resources like Meta to have as good as Slam tracking. It's just hard to expect that. Like, man, you have to spend so much money to really make a product like that. It erases my room randomly as well. Really? Yeah. Again, I was just annoyed with them. The hardware is fine. Like the hardware design is pretty good. Like obviously, like I think the hardware is good, but the software and the Slam tracking is just not good enough for me to replace Vive trackers. And I think it's telling because even Vive themselves have told people, because I guess right now the PC version of using them is the PC version is all in beta, they call it. They call it all in beta. They didn't release the PC version. They've been very upfront with people and saying, don't buy these while they're in beta. Buy Vive trackers with Lighthouse if you really want to have a reliable experience. So they know. They're aware. They're very honest about it, which is good. They're you know. But I think you're probably I mean, does multimodal work for Quest Pro or is that only Quest 3 where you can track hands and controllers at the same times? Is that only on Quest 3 or did they like also do that for Quest Pro? I have not used a Quest Pro in a while. I gave my Quest Pro head HMD away to a friend. I kept the controllers though, because I always figure I love those controllers. I think they're a really good design. Give us a quick 10-second hot take on the Vision Pro. I think Vision Pro 2 should be $3,500 still. I don't think that they should cave into the pressure to make the Pro models cheaper. They can do cheaper models, I don't care, aligned with Vision Pro 2. Or as like, its own, $2,000 Vision Pro Air. I don't mind that, but I don't want Apple to deviate from $3,500 price point. I want them to keep that price point and keep pushing the components harder. How to lower the price? I think there's some pretty... I mean, here's the thing, like, there are things happening right now that is, like, already kind of, like, again, right now the only people making the displays in this headset right now are Sony. A Japanese, in a singular fab in Japan. That is very expensive, even just saying that, without even talking about the technology that's in it. Just saying, made by Sony in Japan in one fab, you just know the cost for that item is going to be more expensive than maybe something in China. All right, so that will be and all the Chinese companies, the big Chinese display companies, even a small one right now is getting big interest from Apple for this display technology. When BOE gets on board in the supply chain, gets good enough to be in the supply chain, I am very certain. Actually, you know what? LG made even some big claims. LG made some big claims. They said if they partner with a company with the volumes of even Apple Vision Pro, for if someone helped them build their micro display fab for OLED, for that prototype they showed off, they were even confident that they can get the price down to half per display in their Korean fabs for micro LED. But they're again expecting someone to obviously place a large enough order for them to do that. It's very interesting. No one's taken them up on that offer, though. Makes me wonder if, like, these companies don't want the white OLED based micro OLED in the long term, because that's about the time frame they would probably be up and running. It's like probably would still take 2 years for them to get up, and then if you're spending your time on white OLED, then Samsung around that time might actually have RGB micro OLED with a third of the power cost and like double to triple the brightness. Yeah. And yeah, plastic versus aluminum. I mean, hey, removing the outer display. Everyone talks about removing the outer display. Oh, I have a actually, can I talk about something? I have a like interesting thought about, so for Vision Pro 2, I don't think they'll remove the outer display. I'm not talking about the cheaper model that they might make. They might choose not to release a cheaper model. They might be like, hey, we need more time to build out these technologies further before we release something. But I still think they can do slightly cheaper slim model or whatever. But anyway, going back to Vision Pro 2, I do not think they'll remove an outer display. And one reason I think about this is I really so going to I always bring up this display convention, but it's because it really does give you like your finger on the pulse of a lot of things in VR, even though it's not VR headsets there, it's just a bunch of components. But one thing you see a lot at these display conferences is every big company is making light fields. So many companies are making light fields, and they're improving the light fields every year. And that could be light field rendering, that could be light field resolution, light field sizes, light field on OLED, like what this is. This is light field on top of OLED. And one reason I think Apple, other than like the whole gimmick stance that they think like, hey, it might connect you to people more. It's not on right now. I'm talking to people on the stream. It's not freaking on. You can't see my eyeballs right now. So like, I don't think they care that much. But anyway, one main reason I think that they will keep it for Pro models in the future is I think the only people that really notice a difference when a VR headset generation comes out more than anyone is the people wearing the headset. They see through the lenses, they see the improvements in graphics, visuals, blah blah blah, all that stuff, right? If you give someone a picture of a Quest 2 and Quest 3, even though that there's a big difference in optics and displays and all that stuff inside, the only difference they'll see is like, oh, there's a couple more cameras on the Quest 3, I think. Okay. But you put a whole light field display where the first generation looks pretty bleh, pretty bleh. But hey, the light field industry, the light field display industry is going to improve pretty drastically over each generation that you do release a full high-end headset. Consumers that don't have to put on the headset will notice generationally that things are improving from the outside. So I think they'll keep this forever, just for a marketing thing. Just so outside people will see the eyes get better, more higher resolution, wider. I mean, it's a really small area right now that's being lit up too. There's a lot of benefit from the outward view getting better for Apple to market to the outsiders that are looking at the weirdo wearing the headset without making the person put it on. It's a very small thing, but I think that's kind of notable, frankly. So, yeah. Anyway, yeah. I saw higher res like yeah. Oh, I know which one you're talking about, Anakazi. There's a company called Gravity XR that showed. So they didn't. So obviously they did kind of show off a prototype version that looks better than this. But what they're mostly supplying is the chip to make this possible for other companies to implement it into not just VR AR products, but also robotics. And that's actually kind of an interesting thing too, because basically they want to have this kind of display with like a 3D face on robots. And it's reported that Apple also wants to get into robotics in the long term. They want to have home robotics. So hey, not only do they get the benefit of the outer face of the headset looking better generation and making consumers understand that there's a generational difference, but hey, if they ever do mass produce a home robotics machine, they're probably going to do the same technology that they got iterating this and put that on their robot. But anyway, Gravity XR, they were. I was actually watching them for about a year, not because of the reverse pass-through chipper they were making, but they were interesting to me because their big project they're working on is basically an R1 coprocessor type chip, like that's in here, but for any company to use instead of just Apple. So like a company that doesn't have the funding to build their own silicon would be able to buy their co-processing chip, have a very powerful coprocessor for, excuse me, cameras and all that stuff, and then place it next to, I don't know, whatever chip with it. Maybe a low power AMD chip or something one day. I don't know. That company is very interesting to me because no other company that I'm aware of was targeting that kind of silicon design. So very interesting. They made Gen 1 outer display. No, not true. I mean, they actually had a lot of problems, I heard, getting this crappy display working because there is a lot of bandwidth issues. Because, with light fields, you have to render like 2 views, like multiple views at least. And obviously, you already have 2 almost 4K per eye displays being rendered at the same time. Like, they were running into a lot of bandwidth issues, and obviously, yeah, it took them a while to. That's why they were not showing it off, from what I understand, until like the very last week, because it was glitching out constantly due to the insane bandwidth that all the displays in this device were taking up. It was crazy. No, what okay. I don't want them to make a Vision Pro 2 until they have displays double the brightness. That's actually my main thing. I want double the brightness for displays. That's my main one. I don't care how they get it, but if they get double the brightness in the next Vision Pro, so they can run the displays at 10% duty cycle, that would be enough for me to upgrade alone. Anything else other than that is already pretty good. So one thing I hear is companies right now. So okay, so Pancake. Okay, this is gonna be the last topic I talk about because I already went way over, very long. So right now, Pancake Optics use. So okay, let's start with this. There's companies that they talk about using dual aspheric lenses, right? You always hear that more recently. Basically, they take 2 big chunks of glass or plastic, and it's how they get a wider FOV, right? They do more magnification with spherics, but the problem is they're very heavy, and you have to put them very far from the display because even the light path still has to travel a certain distance for it to be in focus at infinity. Now, there's not actually that much difference right now between dual layer aspheric and then most Pancake designs that are made right now, because they're actually, a lot of them are using aspheric elements in the lenses, but what they're doing is they're also adding polarizers and quarter wave planes to bounce the light between the aspheric actual glass or plastic elements. Quest Pro and Quest 3 uses, I don't know, but I'll just say Quest Pro for sure uses 2 elements, 2 full molded elements with the polarizers and stuff on it. Vision Pro uses 3 because they have a smaller display, so they need a bit more stuff going on there to get more magnification for the smaller display. Now, what people really want is they want to replace at least one of the elements with different elements that are not fully glass or plastic. A lot of people are talking about wire grids, I hear. Wire grids are these things that are already on some lenses as well, but like they want to have the wire grids, which are these tiny microscopic layers of metal wires that would basically diffract the light in a certain way similar to a glass or plastic element. And if you do that, you can make the lenses lighter and even more thinner. But again, it's a manufacturing problem more than a actual like it's impossible problem. It's manufacturing. They're trying to get it. But I keep hearing of companies say that these wire grids are getting pretty good. So if we see something like that where these Pancake optics get even thinner, then you can get the display even closer to your eyes, and like you get a bit of a FOV bonus when you do that. Those two things, a brighter display with something like that, a slightly better Pancake optic would probably be enough for me. And of course, they probably would update the chip inside. They would update the cameras to be a bit better. Hopefully, they update the strap, the strap design. But yeah, those are the things I think are more valuable more than anything else. Yeah. Can you display what you see on the outside of the headset if you want to share something? If you have an iPhone, you can. You can share. You can cast to an iPhone, iPad, MacBook. I don't think you can share your view to anything outside of that. Otherwise, you would have to record your view and then send that to your friend. I guess. As eyes get closer to the display, will eye tracking become more important? Dude, eye tracking is already very important for these lenses. These lenses literally could not work without eye tracking. Because again, I told you, they're concave, they're curved, they have a cylindrical. They literally would not look good without eye tracking and dynamic optical distortion correction. So we're already there. We're already at the point where you need eye tracking to have good visuals out of lenses. This headset could not exist without eye tracking. Even removing all the pinch and all the input stuff and all that stuff, these lenses just wouldn't work. I mean, maybe they would, but they'd be a disgusting mess. It would look terrible. It would look absolutely awful. We're already at the point in technology where you need eye tracking to do all these things. Otherwise, you just can't release it. So, I heard the new AI features won't make it to the Vision Pro. Yeah. I mean, hey, I could totally see why. There are some, like, again, talking about how I can't open all my shared space apps in immersive experience because it's just too much on the processing. The day that I am allowed to even open 2 or 3 shared space apps on top of an immersive environment will be a big day. But I'm guessing they'll probably require a certain level of chip for me to get there. Yeah. All right. You don't think adult... What? I have no comment about that one. All right. I'm sorry, guys. I went on very long. I went on... So the mesh fine enough to interfere with the... Again, it's one of those things where wire grids are already kind of used for a lot of stuff already. But to get the wire grids to kind of like compensate for a full glass or plastic element is still one of those things that, like, it's been done in prototypes. It's just getting it on a mass production scale that's like kind of the problem. So. Wait, what? It's, for me, yes. For me, it's a yes. I have no regrets buying this thing. I will be first in. I haven't even made like any YouTube videos on this thing. I just talked about it a lot on Twitter on streams, which is not enough to finance the device for myself. But for me, I love it. I freaking love using it. I have no regrets, and I'll be first in line whenever they release the second one. Provided they don't screw something up until then, so. If you want to break in the industry looking for an internship, oh man, you're the kind of person that should be going to AWE. Absolutely, you need to go to networking events like AWE and stuff. All right, I've been here so long. I thank you, everyone, for being here. You are all very wonderful as always. I'll try to do one in, let's see. When will I do my next stream? I'll try to do one in 2 weeks. I think that's my target. I'll do another live stream in 2 weeks. Yeah. Unless there's literally nothing that happens in the industry. Because I feel like I covered so many topics this stream that I'm exhausting myself. But my wife hates when I do that too. But if I split it up into highlight videos on the second channel, maybe it's fine if I do this. So, all right. Thanks everyone. Thanks guys. Thanks guys and girls. Goodbye. 3 more hours blocks. All right, I'm out. Get me out. How do I get out? Bye.